Story 1. My grandparents picked my cousin over me, and I was their backup plan until I refused their life plan for me. Now, they want to play happy family. I, 31M, have lived with my grandparents all my life. My parents passed away when I was little, so my grandparents adopted me. I am a single child, so I was probably going to go into the foster system if they hadn't taken me into their custody. I have always been grateful to them for doing that. I also acknowledge that they sacrificed a lot to raise me. They were pretty old when they took me home. It wasn't easy for them to raise a small kid, but they still took care of me. They were pretty strict, but I honestly can't complain. I owe my life to them. I don't know where I would have been if they hadn't stepped in and taken me under their wing. I don't remember my parents much, but I am sure I would have reminded them of them, which wouldn't have been easy for them either. They did treat me like their own child, but at the same time they tried to control my life too. I don't know if that was the idea of parenting that they had or something else, but they always wanted me to do exactly what they wanted. When I was a kid, they would feed me what they thought was best for me. They clothed me in whatever they thought would be good for me. I never got to have an opinion on anything regarding myself. I wanted so many things growing up, but I was always denied because my opinion didn't matter. I never even tried to argue with them because I was so afraid that they would get rid of me or something, and I wouldn't have any family at all. They weren't the most affectionate people in the world, so I was always sort of scared that they might change their mind someday, and I would have to leave. It wasn't like they treated me badly or something. They were just indifferent. I think it was a generational thing. They weren't comfortable showing too much emotion. They just wanted to raise me, and in raising me, they wanted me to just listen to whatever they were saying. I was never supposed to argue or they might get mad. I did do it, though. I listened to everything they had to say until I was in high school. I thought that they knew better than me, and I made every decision based on what my grandparents told me. I used to see my cousins play with their toys and have the best superhero clothes, and I used to be filled with envy, but I always told myself that my grandparents knew what they were doing, and if they weren't buying me toys, then it was for my own good. I never thought that something was wrong with their parenting style until I was older and could form an unbiased opinion. They had been controlling me all my life, and I don't know if they were doing that on purpose or if they were just wired that way. It could be a generational thing, but they got so comfortable dictating what I should and shouldn't do with my life that it started to come naturally to them. I didn't think it was a problem when I was a kid, but as I grew up, it started to grate on my nerves that I had to do everything they wanted me to. I still did it even though I hated myself for it. I still complied with everything they asked or told me to do because I was afraid of ending up alone. It went like that for as long as I can remember, and before I knew it, I was filling up my college forms. I have always wanted to go to an art college, but of course my grandparents had different plans. They didn't reason with me or anything. They just demanded that I study whatever they thought was good for me. That was the moment all my rage boiled over. I had been festering in it for so long that it surprised even me when I stood up to them. They were as surprised as me. I had never denied them anything before that, but I needed to take control of my life. I would have never forgiven myself if I had listened to them in that moment. They wanted me to study economics, and I had no interest in it. I tried to tell them that I was a good artist, but they brushed me off. All my teachers had told me that I could be successful in the art world. I was that good. But nothing was good enough for my grandparents if it wasn't up to their standards. They started to keep me at a distance. After I filled out all my college forms, they wanted me to know that I had made a mistake, so they ignored me for the last days of high school. I was devastated. They were the only parents I knew, and they just cut me out of their lives like it didn't matter. They didn't even attend my graduation. I was the only one there alone. No parents skipped their kids' graduation, and that was the day I realized that they weren't my parents. I had idealized them and thought of them as my parents, but they didn't feel the same way. If they had, they would have kept our differences aside and come to see me graduate. The longer I thought of it, the clearer it became. I was a project for them. They wanted me to be perfect and listen to everything they told me. They were nice to me when I abided by their rules, but as soon as I made a decision that they didn't agree with, they disappeared from my life. It was the saddest realization I had ever come to, but it was true nonetheless. It took me a long time after that to accept that they didn't love me or care for me like I did for them. My love was unconditional, while theirs came with a list full of conditions. They didn't talk to me after graduation. They didn't talk to me when I left for college, and they certainly didn't talk to me the following days. I got used to it after a while. I was ultimately an orphan, so it wasn't that far-fetched that I wouldn't have any family. It was just very difficult to finally come to that conclusion after I had lived my life worshiping my grandparents for literally saving my life and giving me a home. They didn't reach out at all after I left for college. I still saw them at family gatherings because my uncles and aunts still invited me. They didn't have any beef with me or my choice of college. I was another family member to them, so they always used to invite me to dinner and stuff. My grandparents didn't like my presence there, but they didn't say anything either. They would usually ignore me or sometimes make small talk like we were strangers. I just hung out with my cousins and used to get out of family gatherings fairly early. I really didn't want anything to make me feel uncomfortable because of the hostility between my grandparents and me. It went on like that throughout college and graduation. I called and told them when I got my first real job, but they didn't seem very happy about it. I had been working since high school, but I got a high-paying job as an art consultant after graduation, and it was still not good enough for them. It was a huge accomplishment, but I felt sadder than ever after my phone call with my grandparents. I was still kind of holding out hope that one day they might accept me if I was successful enough or earned enough money, but I was wrong. They couldn't care less about me just because I chose to go to college of my own choice instead of theirs. That day, all my hope was killed. I knew for sure that I couldn't do anything that would make them forgive me. I had stopped calling them after that day because I knew I wasn't wanted. They never reached out on their own, so I didn't hear from them for a long time until one day I got a call. It was my grandmother asking me to come to the house. I initially thought that maybe they wanted to resolve things finally, and the prospect of that was sort of bittersweet. I did want them in my life again, but at the same time, my life was so peaceful in their absence. I felt like a horrible person just thinking about it. At the time when I went to our house, though, I was greeted by every other member of our family, so it was a family gathering nonetheless. They had invited me after so long, so there must have been some reason. After everyone got there, my grandparents told us all that they were going to announce their will to us. I mean, I knew they were getting old, but still, it was like a gut punch to hear them say that they wanted to be prepared in case something happened. I listened to them intently. I was sure I wasn't going to get anything except for the house, and I honestly didn't want anything except for the house. I needed the house because of the emotional attachment I had to it. All my aunts and uncles had their own homes, so I was confident that I was going to get the house anyway. Both my grandparents knew about my wish to inherit the house, and they had assured me a few times that I would get it when I grew up. After they were done with almost all their will, they got to the house, and they completely blindsided me by giving it to my cousin instead of me. I stood on their porch, not even knowing what to say. All my cousins were looking at me, too, because it was common knowledge that I was going to get the house one day. When I gained enough courage to speak, I asked my grandparents what was going on. They simply said that they wanted to give the house to their oldest grandchild, who was my cousin. I reminded them that they had promised me the house. I had so many memories there. It was the only home I ever knew. All my parents' stuff was in the attic of that house. My mother chose the furniture that was in the dining room. It held all the memories of my parents, even though I never got to know them. It held all the happy memories of my time with my grandparents before it all went sour. I told them that I wanted it, and they told me that they had made their decision. I pleaded with them to let me have it. Then they said that I could have had it if I had listened to them and chosen a respectable profession for myself. They said that I had made a fool of them, so I didn't deserve to have anything of theirs. I never looked at that house as theirs. It was always ours for me. And then I understood that the oldest grandchild excuse was they just wanted to punish me for following my own dreams instead of their dreams for me. I lost a lot of respect for them in that moment. I have always thought that they might not be equipped to be good parents to me because of our age gap, but that day I thought for the first time that they might not be good people. I left without saying anything further because really, what was there to say after that? In the following days, though, sadness gave way to anger. I just thought that if they can't even grant me this one thing that I have always wanted, maybe I don't need them in my life after all. They are perfectly happy without any contact with me, so I needed to move on from them and accept the fact that they are perfect in my mind only. They have made it pretty clear that they don't want anything to do with me, so the only thing that linked me to them was all their bills that I had been paying for a few years. I had been taking care of everything: food, water, electricity, and medicines. Everything got delivered to their doorstep. They never talked to me about it. They probably thought that one of my uncles was doing it for them. Whatever the reason, I just couldn't be in their lives anymore. It was eating me alive. They were not good for my peace of mind, so I canceled all the payments as a first step to truly being separate from them. It took them 18 days to realize that I was the one making all the payments. I assumed they were calling me to talk about it, but when I picked up the call, they were talking to me really politely. I was confused at first, and then they said that we should be a family again because my absence was not bearable for them. It didn't even take me 30 seconds to realize that they wanted me to pay their bills again. There was no way they wanted me back in their lives. Their egos were way too big for that to happen. I told them that I would rather not be a family again and hung up. Was I wrong for not even listening to them first and assuming that they wanted money? Update 1. It's been a few days after my phone call with my grandparents. I kept wondering if I was too hasty in shutting them down. Maybe they didn't want me to pay their bills and simply wanted me back in their lives. They didn't try to contact me after that one phone call for a few weeks. I was still mad at them for depriving me of that house just because I took charge of my own life. I still wanted to help them out with their bills and all, and that was the most ridiculous thing. They kicked me to the curb and I still wanted to help them out. I just couldn't bear the fact that they might be suffering because of me. My grandfather received a generous pension after his retirement, so it wasn't like they didn't have any money, but I just wanted to be there for them in their old age. When they didn't contact me for weeks, I started to think that maybe I should call them and apologize. I honestly didn't know what I did wrong, but it was keeping me awake at night. The fact that I might be the reason our relationship would never be the same was eating me alive. I didn't call them, though. They did after a month or so. My grandmother called me and started assuming I was heartless and selfish. I had never heard her say such cold and mean things to me, and it immediately brought tears to my eyes. I asked her what I did, and she scoffed and said that I stopped paying their bills because they wouldn't give me the house. I told her that I was sorry and that if they wanted, I could start paying their bills again. She told me that they didn't need anything from me, and she was calling to let me know how ungrateful I was and that they failed at raising me. She was saying such horrible things to me, and all I could do was listen and cry. I have never been more alone than I was at that moment. Update 2. So, a couple of months have passed since my altercation with my grandmother, and I finally went to therapy. I have been almost depressed since everything happened, and my friends have been pushing me to try therapy, but I have been putting it off. After 2 whole months of feeling sorry for myself, I finally decided to give it a try, and it really helped. I learned a lot of things that I might have done unconsciously my whole life. My therapist told me that I had been clinging to my grandparents because I felt like I owed them something. She was right, I did feel like it. I felt like I owed them my life, so I kept going back to them even if they were hurting me emotionally. She assured me that it was their fault, not mine. Children are not supposed to feel like they owe something to their parents because they raised them. That's when I realized that I hadn't done anything out of my love for them. I did everything they told me when I was a kid because I was scared they would get rid of me. Then, when I grew up, I did everything for them to pay off the debt of raising me. It was like a door opened in my mind, and I could see everything clearly. It was heartbreaking to realize that I didn't mean that much to them. I've been worshiping them for saving me and making me what I am today, but in reality, they were the ones who messed me up. I was an insecure person. I was always clinging to someone for love. I was always begging other people to not leave me because they put all those fears in me. They were bad parents to me, and they punished me for realizing that after so many years. Update 3. I finally gathered enough courage to face my grandparents. They have been a constant presence in my life, even when they weren't physically there. I don't think they could say the same. I decided to talk to them face to face instead of calling. All my other family members were still inviting me to a gathering, but I haven't been to one since my grandparents announced their will. They have been worried about me, and I was getting calls from them to check in. They never took sides, and I was grateful for that. They could have easily chosen my grandparents and forgotten all about me, but it was heartwarming that they cared for me as well. So, the next time my aunt invited me, I went there. It was surprising for every one of them since I hadn't shown up for a while, but my grandparents' faces were frozen in shock. They probably thought they never had to see me again. I didn't want to see them either. I just wanted closure, and I won't be able to get it if I don't face them head-on and tell them what they did to me. They needed to get off their high horse and see what mistakes they made. I told my family that I wouldn't stay for long and that I just wanted to have a conversation with my grandparents. My grandparents, on the other hand, didn't want to go anywhere private with me. Instead, they asked that I say my piece in front of everyone, so that's what I did. I told them that they were terrible caretakers for me. They made me feel like I wasn't good enough. I was constantly scared that they were going to abandon me if I stepped out of line even once. They made me feel like I owed them for giving me a home. They listened to me intently for a while and then they burst too. They told me that I did owe them because if it wasn't for them, I would have been a homeless orphan. They said that I should be thankful that they decided to take me home and not leave me like a stray. It was all so horrible. The language they were using was so awful that it made a couple of aunts cry. They said that they gave everything to me and I still defied them. They told me that they had dreams for me, and I refused to follow through with them like the ungrateful brat that I was. My cousins jumped in at that point and told our grandparents to basically shut up. I honestly couldn't say anything because I hadn't expected this level of hostility from them, but my cousins had my back. When I could talk again, I told them firmly that they were nothing to me anymore. Their love was so conditional that it wasn't love anymore. They can't control my whole life and expect me to be okay with it. They didn't say anything after that, so I said whatever I wanted to and left with the promise of never seeing them again. Update 4. Hi guys. I went into isolation after my fight with my grandparents a few months ago. True to my promise, I hadn't reached out, and I wasn't planning to ever. My uncles, aunts, and cousins reached out to me, but I just texted them to let them know that I was okay. Took me 8 whole weeks to finally go out with my cousins. They had been badgering me to come hang out with them. They told me that they weren't going to talk to our grandparents after what they said and did to me. I was grateful for their support. I finally hung out with them, and it was pretty great to have family who didn't want anything from you. They just wanted to be with me without any conditions, and it sort of felt foreign. I am still getting used to that feeling and trusting other family members to not take advantage of me. My oldest cousin did tell me that the house was mine if I wanted it, but I refused. I got movers to get my parents' stuff from there, but I didn't want the house anymore. When I thought about it, it held bad memories for me now. My grandparents were not my parents, however much I wanted them to be. They just weren't, and there was no reason for me to hold on to that house that reminded me of them. I didn't want to be reminded of them. I was finally happy after not having them in my life. My therapist saw a huge difference in my behavior and was happy with my progress too. I was getting better every day and breaking all the metaphorical chains that they put around my ankles. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Girlfriend ghosted me, and then I discovered she was cheating with a rich guy for 6 months. I told her new boyfriend everything and it backfired. Now she lost her job, apartment, and both of us. Hey everyone, I, 27, male, and my ex-girlfriend, Mindy, 25, female, had been together for 2 years. But then she ghosted me for no reason last month. She and I met each other at her friend's party 2 years back, and after dating for a couple of months, we made things official and have been together ever since. I really liked her, and I think she's been the first serious relationship that I've had in my life. Before her, of course, I'd been with people, but no relationship of mine had lasted for so long. I would end up losing interest in a couple of months, or they would end up breaking up with me because they wanted something different from life. But with Mindy, everything was very different, and I don't know how to explain it, but she was just special. These past 2 years were probably the best ones of my life because I was just so happy with her. I thought she was happy with me too, but then a couple of months ago, she started acting really weird and distant from me. I tried to get to the bottom of it, and I tried to have a discussion with her about this several times, but she just kept telling me that she was busy with work and so she didn't have enough time for me. She had just started working at this new company, and this was all apparently very stressful for her. So I decided to give her the space that she said she needed. I tried not to feel bad about it, but deep down, I was very hurt with the way that she was acting. She would be working long hours, or at least she claimed that she was, and she barely even spoke to me anymore. For the past couple of months, it really felt like she had completely lost interest in me or the relationship and was taking me for granted. The breakup fight. Then, 1 month back, she and I got into a really big fight one night. We don't live together, even though we have been together for so long. She lives a couple of blocks away from me, and traveling to each other's places takes like 20 to 30 minutes on average. She had come to my place after work and was complaining about how tired she was. So I suggested that we could move in together since I had been planning on asking her to move in with me for quite some time anyway. But then, because of her behavior, I hadn't been able to, and that seemed like the perfect opportunity because her office was actually pretty close to my apartment. I thought that it would be convenient for us, but she declined and said that she would much rather live in her own apartment. I found that response quite confusing because she had just been complaining about how long it took for her to get to her workplace in the mornings, and staying with me would solve this problem. I told her that I could make everything legal and add her on to the lease and split the rent and everything if that's what the problem was. But she then told me that she was just not interested in living with me. And that's when I got a bit upset because, I don't know about her, but I was pretty serious about that relationship, and I wanted to take it forward. We had been together for 2 whole years. I thought that it would be the right time for us to move in together and take this relationship to the next level. I could understand if she was not ready yet, but then we had to at least talk about it because I wanted to know what she felt about me or if she was even serious about me. I wanted a life with her, and if she did not want that, I needed to know it because I wanted to be with someone who was on the same page as me, or at least I needed to know that she would be on the same page as me at some point, if not now. But when I tried to talk to her about this, she started yelling at me and said that I was trying to pressure her into moving in with me when she was just not interested or even ready yet. I tried to clarify that that's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to see where she was in the relationship and have a discussion with her. I tried to be as calm and collected as possible, but she just kept screaming in my face and accused me of being insecure and jealous of her better life. So I lost it as well, and I started fighting with her too. I ended up yelling at her and saying that she was not even serious about this relationship, and told her that I wanted her to leave. So she grabbed her stuff and left that night, and after that, she blocked me everywhere and ghosted me completely. Ghosted and searching. The next morning when I woke up, I tried to call her to talk to her, but I was blocked. Then, while trying to contact her, I realized that she had pretty much blocked me in every single way that was possible. So then I started panicking, and I decided to drive to her apartment. But when I got there, the landlord told me that she had packed her things last night itself and had even handed over the keys earlier because she said she would not be coming back. She had cleared the rent and ended the lease agreement beforehand, so this was not something that was a last-minute decision. I was shocked because this was a big deal, and I thought that she would have spoken to me about it if she was moving out of her place. While I was in that state, I decided to try and contact a couple of her friends, but they had all blocked me as well. So I decided to speak to a few mutual friends, and they said that she hadn't spoken to them in the last few weeks, and they had no idea what I was talking about. To sum it up, nobody was able to help me at that point, and it was very easy for her to ghost me because a couple of days after that fight, she just went off the grid altogether. We had a few mutual friends who let me know that she had deleted all of her social media accounts and was not responding to any messages or phone calls. So even if they had been able to tell me what she was up to through social media, we wouldn't have the opportunity to do that anymore. I tried to do everything in my power to get her to talk to me for 2 whole weeks, but after that I was forced to give up because it was a dead end. I tried to talk to her parents, but even they had blocked me. Then I tried to visit them, but they refused to even open the door to me and said that they would call the cops if I disturbed them anymore. None of her friends were willing to speak to me, and I had to give up. I had been acting like a madman for 2 weeks, and I was just so grief-stricken that I didn't know what to do with myself anymore. All I could do was go to work and then wait for work to get over so I could get back to searching for her. I knew that she did not want to be found, which is why she had blocked me and gone off the grid, but I just wanted to talk to her one last time. Even if she wanted to end things with me, I wanted her to at least say that she wanted me out of her life because we had been together for 2 years. I deserved a proper breakup and some closure. I felt like I'd become completely psychotic, and after realizing that she was not coming back, I had a mental breakdown and knocked myself out after polishing off a couple of bottles of wine. I know this might sound weird to a lot of people, but the way she was treating me, I literally felt like somebody had died, and I was dealing with that sort of pain. Moving on and the discovery. Anyway, after 2 weeks and that terrible hangover the day after I finished those bottles of wine, I decided to finally give up hope and tried to move on instead of getting back to her. For the past 2 weeks, I've been focusing more on work since my quality of work had declined considerably when I was trying to deal with the breakup. But now I had no choice but to focus, or otherwise I might have ended up getting fired from my job as well. After coming back from work, I would not speak to anybody and just try to take my mind off of everything by reading a book or watching some TV show or whatever. I was trying to be better, and I'm lucky that my friends and family were there to support me. They kept checking in on me and would text me every morning and every night to make sure that I was doing fine, so that helped. But in spite of my best efforts to move on, I was still feeling really low, and I would end up crying myself to sleep because of how much pain I was in emotionally. I just really missed her and wanted her back, no matter what she had done to me. Anyway, I was going through a lot emotionally, and then all of a sudden, I received news from a couple of friends that Mindy was back online, and the first thing that she had posted was a picture of her with another guy, and they were hugging, and she had written an entire paragraph in the caption to celebrate their 6-month anniversary. I received screenshots of that post from several people, and I was in shock because I had never even imagined in 1,000 years that Mindy would end up cheating on me. But there it was, and I could not even deny it because it was right in my face. I was extremely upset when I found out about it, and for a couple of hours, I didn't even know how to react. I was just numb, and I think I was blank about what to do next. It continued for a couple of days until 6 days ago when I finally decided that I couldn't just let this go. I had tried to be the bigger person and not do anything about it and move on, but I just felt so horrible about myself that I felt like I just had to do something about it. Taking action. So I ended up begging a friend of mine to lend me his account because I wanted to stalk the guy she was with. After a lot of convincing, they agreed to let me have their account since he followed her and she had a private account on Instagram, so making a fake account would not do me any good. Anyway, after I had logged into his account, I started stalking the guy. Unluckily, he had a public account. From his posts, I could figure out that he was quite wealthy, and most of his pictures were in exotic countries, on yachts with bottles of champagne, or him in tuxedos at extravagant parties. He definitely knew how to live it up, and it was impressive. After stalking him for some time, I realized that recently, for the past couple of months, Mindy had been featured in every single one of his posts. Her face was never in any of the pictures that he posted with her, so I guess that's how nobody was able to figure anything out. But I could see her hands in a couple of photos because I recognized a tattoo that she had on her wrist, and in some photos they had their feet put together, just glimpses of her here and there. And then, finally, there was the anniversary post with both of their faces in it, and I could see that he was really into her just as I had been. When I realized that, I don't know what happened, but before I could even think about what I was doing, I logged out of my friend's account and into my own, and then I found the other guy's account and sent him a message about Mindy. I told him everything. How she had been with me for the past 2 years and how she had essentially been cheating on me with him, and he deserved to know. I even attached proof. Screenshots of the two of us talking to each other while she was supposedly with him, and then even pictures of the two of us just to make sure that he would actually believe me. And then I waited. I didn't know what I was thinking. I just knew that it felt like the right thing to do at that moment. The backlash. 2 days after that, Mindy finally unblocked me, and I received a phone call from her, which I knew would come because he had seen my message. I knew that I was about to get an earful. As soon as I answered her phone call, she started screaming at me and accused me of ruining her life. She said that I was just jealous of her yet again, which I don't even understand because why would I be jealous of her? She said that I couldn't stand to see her happy, and that's why I had gone out of my way to talk to her boyfriend and ruin their relationship. Because now, not only was he breaking up with her, but she was also getting fired from her job because apparently the guy that she was with was none other than the son of the chairman of the company that employed her, and he had complained to his father about whatever had happened. So now she was getting fired. To be honest, I don't know how they can do that. I'm pretty sure this can open them up to lawsuits. But regardless, she is still getting fired, and she's blaming me for it. So, AITA for telling my ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend that she had been cheating on me with him? Update 1. Hi. Thanks for the love on my original post, you guys. It's still difficult for me to deal with what's happening right now, knowing that she cheated in spite of being with me for so long, but I'm trying to get my act together because I know she's not worth my tears. So, I have even started looking for a therapist. I want to deal with my life better so I can completely move on and heal from this. It's been 6 days since Mindy contacted me, and because you guys said that I did not need to beat myself up for what happened, I decided to block her. She was wrong about everything that she said. I'm not jealous of her, and I'm certainly not the kind of person who cannot stand to see my ex happy. I'm just the kind of person who doesn't appreciate being cheated on, that's it. So I've blocked her, and now she can be as mad as she wants to, but I'm not going to let it bother me because that's what she did to me when I was heartbroken. She has been going around and telling all of our mutual friends that I am the reason that she is getting fired so that she can get some sympathy. But I don't think it's working because for so long she had not been in touch with any of our friends out of the fear that they might find out about her relationship and expose her. And now we all know the reality, and I don't think anybody was falling for her act. She was trying to paint me as some really toxic guy who was constantly trying to manipulate her and control her life, which is why she was claiming that she had been cheating on me since she was not in a healthy relationship and she wanted something else. But nobody believes her because people know who I was as a person, and that's enough for me. To be honest, she can say whatever she wants, but as long as people know the truth and don't believe her, I'm not even going to lift a finger to stop her. She has not tried to contact me after we spoke on the phone the last time, and she blamed me for all of that stuff that was happening. I blocked her about 3 days after that, so she had the chance to speak to me if she wanted to say anything, but she didn't. So now I really don't see the point of going around and telling our friends that I'm the bad guy here and they need to stop speaking to me, because it's not making me look bad. It's just making her look really immature to everyone else since people are coming to me and telling me what she's doing and making fun of her. I guess she's just in such a terrible place in her life that she can't even make good decisions anymore. But let's be real, that was never her strong suit anyway, judging by what she has done to her life. Update 2. Hi. So, I posted my last update just 2 days ago, and today I finally got a response from the other guy that she was seeing. I've got to say that was really unexpected because he didn't respond to me for a really long time, so I thought maybe he would just ignore my message. But a couple of hours ago, he responded with a text saying that he wanted to speak to me on the phone because he had a lot to talk about. After thinking about it for a few minutes, I decided to give him my phone number, and within 15 minutes, he called me. That was 2 hours ago, and we just got off the call a couple of minutes back. And I came straight to Reddit to tell you guys what I learned. He started off by telling me that he was really sorry about the things that had happened, and I told him that I didn't care about that because it's not like he was at fault. Just like me, he had no idea either, so he had no reason to apologize. After that, he went on to tell me that for the past 6 months, he had been suspecting that maybe Mindy had something going on, and it was only recently that he stopped doubting her since Mindy had broken up with me, so she didn't act that shady anymore. He had broken up with her immediately after reading my text because he knew that every single word of it was true since he had noticed the weird way that she would act at the beginning of the relationship, and he didn't need to be told twice. So he confronted her after I sent him that message, and she tried to deny everything, but it was very stupid of her to do that since there was literally proof of her cheating on me. Ultimately, she confessed that she had been with me but tried to tell him that she had just been too scared to break things off with me because I was apparently so toxic that she thought I would try to get back at her in some really nasty ways, and that's why she had been holding out on it. But she did not have any feelings for me and had just been pretending for the last 6 months. Thankfully, he did not believe a word of what she had said and insisted that she'd tell him the truth. So after a lot of fighting, she did agree that she had been cheating but still tried to continue to be with him and said that she deserved a second chance, which was just such nonsense. Anyway, he dumped her, and he was miserable the past couple of days. He hadn't been able to get back to me, but now he was feeling slightly better and could speak to me. He told me that after her boss had fired her, she immediately started blaming him for it, and he did not deny it. He did have a part to play in it, but it was not like what she believed was going on. The company actually wanted to fire her a really long time ago because she was just performing bad at her work, and most of the time other people in her department would have to pick up her slack. However, ever since she started getting involved with him, she had been getting away with this because he would fight for her and insist that they keep her. But now he had spoken to his father and the head of her department, so they were letting her go, and he didn't want to fight for her to stay in the company anymore. I thought it was fair enough. It was definitely not what she thought was going on. Mindy strongly believed that she was only getting fired because she had been caught cheating, which might have been against the laws of the company because that's her personal life and it's nothing related to the company or her job. But now we know the truth, that she had been bad at her work anyway and was going to get fired, but her boyfriend had been delaying it. Now he just wanted to talk to me and ask if I would be willing to testify for them if she actually decided to file a lawsuit, and I agreed without a second thought. He said that they would only need my help in the most dire situation, so he was hoping it wouldn't come through, but they need to have all bases covered just in case. After getting that out of the way, we ended up talking about her for almost another hour until he had to go. And I've got to say, he seems like a really fun guy, and I know it sounds crazy, but I would really like to be friends with this person. He was constantly making jokes, and I swear I was laughing so hard every time he made a comment about Mindy and our situation right now. I guess it's easier for him to make light of the situation since he was with her for only 6 months and I was with her for 2 years, something that he even made a joke about. But anyway, I feel much lighter now. To be honest, I haven't been able to speak about this so openly with anybody else since I wanted to maintain my stance that I'm not going to talk crap about my ex. But this was actually fun, and I've even saved his number and I think he has too. Update 3. Hey. So, it's been 2 weeks since my last update, and just as I had expected, Mindy has decided to file a lawsuit against her employers for wrongful termination. I wouldn't say it was wrongful, to be honest, knowing what I do now, but it's fine because she's just going to lose her own money because I'm positive that she's not going to win this case. I'm keeping that to myself for now, though, since I wanted to waste her time and money and energy. Her other ex-boyfriend, let's call him Nick, is the one who contacted me a couple of days ago and told me about it. Just in case they need me, I'm going to be here on standby for them because I would love the opportunity to screw her over like she did to me. Mindy has still been harping on about how I ruined her life and trying to gain sympathy from everybody else, but I think everybody stopped speaking to her at this point, and I'm glad for that. She did not contact me again, but her parents definitely did to try and guilt-trip me into feeling bad. They called me up a couple of days back, and I answered their phone call because I really wanted to know what they had to say. Since the last time that I tried to talk to them, they didn't even let me inside the house and told me that they would call the cops on me if I tried to bother them again, so this was going to be interesting. When I answered my phone, I didn't say anything and let them do all the talking. They told me they were sorry for the way they had behaved last time. They claimed that they were not sure how to deal with the situation, so they just wanted to stay out of it. However, now that I had gone out of my way to do this to her new relationship, they wanted me to try to fix this. They brought up completely irrelevant things like how Mindy and I had been together for so long, something that they should have reminded their daughter instead of me, and said that I should at least respect our past relationship and not do this to her. I tried to tell them that this was not my fault, but they were just not ready to listen. They even claimed that they had always thought of me as a son, although I highly doubt that they would ever tell their own son to leave them alone or they would call the cops. Anyway, after hearing them out, I told them that there was really nothing I could do to help them because it was the company's decision to let her go and not mine. So even if I went ahead and deleted all the messages that I had sent earlier, which I couldn't do, it would be pointless. Then they hung up on me and did not speak to me again, and I'm honestly relieved because I don't have anything to say to them either. Update 4. So, Mindy and her employers were able to come to an out-of-court settlement. But even then, she didn't get much. It was pretty easy for them to prove that Nick was actually the person who was saving her from being fired because they had reports on her, and all of them were negative since she had started working there. It's a miracle she didn't get fired earlier. Anyway, she just got $3,000 out of this, and I'm pretty sure that that's not what she was looking for. So she must be really disappointed. And she's probably even more pissed than disappointed because a couple of days back, Nick and I met for lunch. He said that he was near where I worked, so while I was on break, we just decided to go out and grab lunch together. Over the course of the past few weeks, we have become really close and have been talking to each other a lot, even apart from the whole Mindy thing. We have a lot of things in common, and I really feel like he's my long-lost brother because it's creepy how well we get along. I guess Mindy cheating on us really did us both a favor because now we know each other. And she has been mad about it for quite some time now since she keeps talking about how betrayed she feels to her friends, and even her friends have been texting us to have some shame and have been saying that they know that we are just talking about her, which is not even true to be honest. We have a lot of other things to talk about apart from her as well. Anyway, from what we have heard, she is unemployed right now and has gone back to living with her parents because so far she had been living in an apartment close to Nick's place, and he was actually paying for it. But after they broke up, obviously he was not going to continue doing that. He even had the grace to let her stay there for another week. But then he had to tell her that she was going to get evicted because she wouldn't be able to afford the kind of rent that the place had, and he was not going to be helping her out anymore. So she moved out, and since then, she has been living with her parents. Life really sucks for her right now, and I'm very happy about it. I know that I said I didn't want to be the kind of person who can't stand to see my ex happy, but Mindy is the kind of person who doesn't even deserve to be happy. For so long, she had been gaslighting me into believing that I was a problem, but I guess we all know who it really was. Anyway, I'm not going to let her dictate my life anymore, and I'm going to try and just fix everything for myself now. Now on to the next story. Story 3. I suspected my wife was cheating and having an affair partner. Now she might be pregnant. Me, 30M. Suspects infidelity of my wife, 28F. On top of a failing marriage. My wife, 28F, and I, 30M. Have been married for almost 2 years and were together for 1.5 years before that. For a total of roughly over 3 years. We got married shortly before our son arrived a year and a half ago. Everything was great between us. I know and regret how rushed things went until my son arrived. My wife got hit with postpartum and treated me terribly for about 7 months until I finally broke. She was passive-aggressive and demeaning, and berated me for any and every little thing. Now, I believe I truly am a great and inexperienced at first father. I have done everything for my child and wife. However, since our child's birth, signs of her being bipolar are very evident. She was great again after getting prescribed Zoloft, and we got along great. She's had several incidences where she stopped taking it, got passive-aggressive, and treated me terribly, and she's now unmedicated again. We work mostly opposite schedules and don't get as much time together as we should. She's very controlling, and I need to consult her anytime I need to do something. I usually only go to work and come right home. When she's working, I'm home alone with our son. She works nights Friday/Saturday nights, so she sleeps all weekend. On the nights I'm off, she goes to the bar with coworkers every weekend after work, and I say nothing so she can have a breather, an adult time. Now, we have a pretty humor-based relationship, and sometimes it's even at the other's expense, and we have been okay with that. Over the past 2 months, she has kept joking about her having a black slam piece. To be clear, I only mention race because that's what she says and because it's relevant later. That's fine, whatever, but she keeps on about it, and it's way past the point of being funny. Anyway, on Tuesday night, she was very mad at her mother about something. I didn't come right home after work because I had to run an errand and went home about an hour later than usual. She took this opportunity to claim I came home in a bad mood and berated me. She picked up some overtime planned for that night, 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. In her anger, beyond our joking and in a serious tone, she said, "I don't want to go to work. I just want to go out, get drunk, and get me some. I'm tired of being a daughter, a mom, and a wife." That hurt a lot. Well, it got me thinking even more all the next day and 2 days later. Thursday, she had more planned overtime from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. Now, my sister-in-law is living with us because she is down on her luck and in remission from ovarian cancer. We get along great. My wife crawled into my sister-in-law's bed at 3:30 a.m. after her shift, smelling like alcohol, and said she went out drinking with Dwight. Dwight is a black security guard at her work. Her shift ended at 12 o'clock, bars close at 2 a.m., and she has a 45-minute drive home. The timeline is even more sketchy. My sister-in-law told me about this after my wife left for work Friday night because she felt like I should know. My wife and I would not have seen each other until Sunday night tomorrow, due to work schedules. I couldn't handle wandering all weekend, so I went to talk to her at her work that night. I calmly confronted her about coming home late, smelling of booze, and that she never even told me. She admitted she went to the bar with Dwight and had 2 beers. I explained how wrong and sketchy it was to me, especially after her comments. She calmly denied cheating on me. I asked her again to swear on our son's life. This caught her off guard, and after 5 seconds, she did. She went on to tell me how she'd been unhappy for months with me and questioned divorce. She's checked out on being a mom and a wife. She doesn't do anything around the house but plays on her phone all day and ignores our son beyond the required stuff. We don't argue much, but she's usually on a hair trigger, snapping about everyone else for no reason. To make things worse, she texted me earlier that day saying she was 8 days late for her period. 2 pregnancy tests came up inconclusive. We've had sex 1 time in the past month. No birth control, no condom pulled out, but I know not foolproof. It makes me wonder if she is pregnant, and is it even mine, if so? So here I sit on the verge of divorce. I feel my trust is destroyed, and I can't move past that. She'd flip her shit if I were with a woman alone drinking at night, and I wouldn't do it. Please help validate or argue my feelings of being wronged and doubting my wife. My trust is destroyed, and we may have a baby coming that neither of us will handle well. I feel terrible, but termination crosses my mind. I feel divorce is coming soon because we both consider it. What should I do? Delete Facebook, hit the gym, lawyer up, and see how things go with a potential new baby? I love the son we have, and I know I'll get at least partial custody. We both have good jobs and no sketchy records to tie us up in court. Thanks so much in advance. More info. We never really get alone time but a few times a month. And yes, she's off Monday to Thursday and kid-free for 3 days. I'm only off 2 days a week. She gets to cut loose, but I'm a bad guy if I go to the store after work. I give her all the time possible to be kid-free and take our son as soon as I'm home. Feed him, bathe him, and put him to sleep. She had the chance to change her schedule, and I tried to for the good of us. She declined. I essentially have our son 36 waking hours a week essentially or fully alone. She spends 40 hours essentially or alone with him. We both suffer the same child burnout without much adult time. I brought up putting our son in childcare, but she is very lazy and never wants actually to do anything to improve her quality of life. She gets to go out but controls me so I can't. I think it's all pretty fucked from here, especially since she's being shady. If she weren't being shady and going out with some dude, I'd do everything I could to make it work. I fear it's too late now due to broken trust. I think I now see how messed up and dysfunctional it is, and it gave me the insight to write all of this. Thanks again for your insight, encouragement, kind words, and time. Update. So, first off, my wife denied all cheating and such on the Friday night I confronted her at work. We both worked all weekend and did not see each other because of it until Sunday night. We spoke a few times and things seemed okay. We were both off the Monday after, and she pulled me into our room away from my sister-in-law to admit she cheated. She's been cheating on me with a 47-year-old coworker. He has a daughter who is only 4 years younger than my wife. And before anyone asks, she's not pregnant. She has since had her period and negative pregnancy tests. She isn't on birth control, so it's always possible she may end up pregnant from him or someone else. But for my son's sake, I hope not. She claimed this happened one time, and it was the night she was mad at her mom and took it out on me. She claimed she did nothing sexual the night she came home late and crawled into bed with my sister-in-law. She's since seen him a few times. She's shown very little remorse, both when she told me and the weeks prior. I consulted with 2 divorce lawyers within the few days after she told me but did not disclose this fact immediately. We had a talk and mutually agreed on an uncontested divorce, something I was going to file for anyway. This is in the works and we have come to terms on property, debt, childcare, etc. She'll get the house. She purchased it when we were still fresh into dating. It is hers, and we will share custody of our son. I'm also working on proving her as an unfit parent unless she willingly gives him up. I'm not trying to take his mom away, even if I feel he'd be better full-time with me and only visits from her. She gets no child support or spousal support, that is separate. We have opted to do split costs such as insurance premiums, medications, unpaid medical bills, tuition, extracurricular costs, and any other joint costs required. My son will not want for anything within reason and will be well looked after. I've said many times he is my main priority in all of this in life. I love my son, and he is my motivation. She still continues to try to get me to watch our son overnight so she can go work. She has been manipulative twice to be able to have someone with our son before I get home from work, so I have no choice. I finally snapped at her after being kind and stoic for 2 weeks. I told her how shitty, manipulative, selfish, and untruthful person she was all around, that I wouldn't do these things to her and I sure as hell won't be her doormat and let her do it to me. We still cohabitate, but I am packing my things and moving out in the next few weeks. I am going to my parents' house until I pay off the cost of the divorce and decide where I want to move to within range of my son. She still rarely shows remorse, but I am not shy to call her on her bullshit. We don't interact much, and when she tries, I usually mostly ignore her. Sometimes she's playful and flirts with me. I don't buy into it. She's texted me a few times about how sometimes she wants to work things out and other times she can't stand me. I am fully done with her shit, and she doesn't seem to comprehend that I am filing and done with her. There's no trust or respect for her, and truthfully, I hate her. Our son has to be pulled away from me crying when she wants to show him attention. When I'm around, he even prefers my sister-in-law over my wife, usually unless he wants to nurse. My wife still mostly ignores him and plays on her phone. In the meantime, I'm hitting the gym and trying to maintain my sanity. I do fine during the day, but the darker thoughts creep in at night. I do my best to stave it off, but it's hard when it prevents you from sleeping. I'm just riding the waves of it all until I reach better days. Depression is definitely present, but I am focusing on my 1.5-year-old son as he is all that matters in this. I love him very much. Thanks to everyone for their time and that final push I needed to be strong and get my divorce going. Now on to the next story. Story 4. Fiancé's boss tried to sleep with her, but she didn't see that coming. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my fiancé to go to dinner with her boss? I'm basically at the point of breaking off my relationship with my fiancé because I'm so frustrated by this whole thing. I guess this question is among my last salvos to see if I'm being an a-hole and unreasonable, or if the problem is on her end. I've been with my fiancé for several years now. She recently graduated and got an amazing HR job with a pretty high profile. We'll get your DUI charges dropped type law firm. The guy who started the firm is known as being an ambulance chaser, shyster, and scammer because, very frankly, he's trying to portray that in his commercials. I've met him a couple of times in person and he's a little better, but I still kind of felt like I needed a shower anyway. 3 weeks ago, my fiancé came home and announced that the lawyer dude boss was taking the whole staff out to celebrate today, because it was the firm's biggest year ever. This is the timeline as far as I can remember. 3 weeks ago, she told me to keep today open because significant others are invited too. Cool, I can do that. 3 days later, she corrects herself and says she was mistaken. It was just a work party, and she tells me it's cool if I make other plans that night. No problem. Then a week ago, she let it slip that it's not really a party for the whole office, just for the people that boss thinks were part of the success. I'm starting to get a little wary here. A day later, miraculously, all the people going to dinner with the boss are under the age of 30 and female. At that point, alarm bells really started going off hard in my head. 2 days ago, the list was down to 2 people. My fiancé and another new attorney. So, if I'm hearing this correctly, the 2 people mainly responsible for this 20-year-old company's biggest year ever are both recent college grads, both female and both around 25. And all my fiancé says is, "Aren't you proud of me?" Then, today, the big day, boss texts her at 11 a.m. and says, "Hey, since this is supposed to be a celebration, don't drive. I'll send a car service for you." My fiancé still doesn't smell anything fishy, so I ask her, just for my own edification, to see what he says if she tells him that's a great offer but my fiancé knows the restaurant and he can drive me. To my not surprise, boss replies back in seconds, "Sorry, I had to change restaurants at the last minute. I'll send the car." My fiancé looks at me, apparently without the screeching submarine clacks and red light flares that are going off in my head, and says, "See? It's all cool. I'll just take the car service." I'm freaking the hell out. I told her that she can't go. She called me a controlling beach. I told her that this whole thing had been shady as hell and I relayed the timeline I just posted above, using my texts and emails from her as evidence. She said that my hoarding evidence like this is an example of how I'm a controlling beach, and she wants to go to the dinner now more than ever. I told her I might be an a-hole, but I'm not stupid. She told me over and over again, "He's married. He can't do anything that would affect his marriage, so you're being the stupid one. That leads me to believe that even she understands the larger implications that are at play here. She locked herself in our bedroom and hadn't come out for at least an hour. I don't know what to do. I can't beat the door down or yell at her, and I think that this is one of those situations where, if the shoe was on the other foot, she'd be freaking the hell out and I'd see her reaction and just call it off. More info. She's 25. I'm 24. It's her first relationship ever. I've had a couple of others, but not as intense, and it's not that I don't trust her. She has just shown over and over that she can be incredibly naive and has almost no street smarts, case in point. Also, I think if she were disloyal, she wouldn't have told me about any of it. She had plenty of opportunities to just go after the time she told me significant others weren't invited. One thing that bugs me is her calling me a controlling bitch because she did the same to me. I had a friend that's a girl from middle school up until last year. She was a great friend. I never so much as kissed or held her hand, but my fiancé was insanely jealous of her because she couldn't imagine that guys and girls could ever be as close as friends as we were without there being a romantic component. So, she didn't want me to hang out with my friend anymore. I don't remember the exact words she used, but they were way more direct than, "I don't want you seeing her friend anymore." And I ended a 12-year friendship with her because it made her uncomfortable. I didn't sulk, I didn't stomp around, I didn't slam doors, and I didn't accuse her of being controlling. I listened to her concerns and acted on them, and in my opinion, as of yesterday, in stark contrast to how she reacted when I said the words, "You can't go." Update 1. So, judgment was essentially everyone sucks here, ESH, which I can accept because I should never have used the word/phrase. You can't go to dinner with him, even though the situation was drowning in more red flags than a communist May Day parade. Fair enough. She didn't speak to me all day Monday, and the last words I heard from her were Sunday night after she got home as she slammed the door to our bedroom saying, "You're still a controlling bitch and we're breaking up." As I mentioned in a comment, her nuclear bomb is always saying "we're breaking up" whenever she doesn't have the upper hand in an argument, so I didn't make much of it. In reality, I was just relieved that she was home and apparently nothing bad happened at the dinner. So, like I said, Monday she didn't say a word to me. I was only able to get into our bedroom to get some clothes, and I couched it again Monday night. Whatever. She was pissed. She was embarrassed that she didn't see it coming. She was angry at me. I figured I'd give her some space, so I did. Tuesday morning, I noticed she was getting ready for work. I couldn't keep my mouth shut anymore, and I incredulously asked her if she was really going back to that shitty job. She said, "Why wouldn't I?" I told her because the owner of the company had done a month-long manipulation to get her into a threesome with his other little side piece. She said that I was an idiot. I was flabbergasted, and she was stomping around the house, putting her shoes on, putting on her makeup, and whatnot. I told her that if she showed up to that office today and didn't quit or follow up with the state bar, he was going to know that she was okay with what happened, at least on the surface. Even if she doesn't have sex with him, he knows that she has a really high tolerance for his shit, and he's going to keep working at her. I also told her that she has an MBA with a focus in HR, and it shouldn't take a redneck auto mechanic to tell her that shit. I own a foreign specialty auto repair facility with my uncle. Now, just to be clear, I never once demanded that she quit. I said it was incredulous that she was going back to a job, considering her boss openly said that he wanted to EF her. She is supposed to be the HR professional that people can come talk to when something like this happens. By tacitly going along with it and not even calling him out, her professional integrity is forever compromised as long as she stays at this law firm. She can't be trusted, she can't confront him, and she can't be the ethical voice of reason against someone we know is a sleazebag. He forever has dirt on her. Anyway, her last words to me were, "Yes, I am the professional, you aren't," and she slammed the door. So Tuesday, I had no idea what I was going to do. I knew in my heart I needed to end the relationship, her situation with her boss notwithstanding. Rather, her method of fighting, name-calling, and silent treatment are just not acceptable. But I still wasn't sure. Anyway, she got home that day and was clearly rattled by something. She was still silent, but a sad silent, not an angry silent, if that makes sense. She absolutely would not tell me what was wrong. But she didn't lock herself in the room this time. She just sat almost catatonic on the couch watching a sitcom she doesn't even like. My assumption. She slept with him, her, or both. She gave in to him. I have no proof of this, but after all the shit, after the quick change in her behavior, it's the only thing I can think happened. In my head and heart, we are broken up. It's hard to stress how public a figure this guy is. He's like the local version of the "Need Cash Now" jingle. Everyone in town knows his face, everyone knows his reputation, and he's a lawyer. I am 100% positive he's too smart to assault someone, so if my assumption is they had sex, my assumption is it was consensual. However, other people have made some very valid arguments as to other possibilities. I'm not saying I'm right or they are, but after 48 hours of little sleep, the context and situation at hand, it's where my brain landed. It's now just a matter of separating our shit, figuring out what to do about the lease on our apartment, canceling the small amount of wedding planning we have done, and, oh yeah, telling her. She may be feeling the same way and be done with me too, which honestly may make this easier for everyone. My heart goes out to her because I do care about her, and if she did have sex with her boss under his pretense, I imagine she would feel like shit, but I tried to warn her. I saw it coming from a mile away. No, I didn't use the correct words in trying to warn her, and I take no pleasure in being right, but I did try. Thanks, everyone. Still ESH. Update 2. For some people, I'm a victim. For some people, I'm a victimizer. I asked for people's opinions, so I will try very hard to keep both in mind going forward. A sincere thank you for your input, good or bad. So, after she came home today, she said she wanted to take a shower. She was still very pissy and told me not to ask her any questions until she got out of the shower and said she wanted to talk. Then, she usually gets home at 6 p.m. on the dot. So I knew something was up when she showed up at 3:30 p.m. I said it was fine, but I was literally on pins and needles until she came back out to our computer room where I was working. So, at about 4:15, she comes out with a towel wrapped around her hair and just one around her waist. In my head, I figure if she were really breaking up with me, she wouldn't let me see her breasts. It wasn't a sexual gesture by any stretch, but it also showed that she wasn't covering up around me. I took that as a good sign because I wasn't sure about breaking up with her, and at least we had options. So, first of all, as nutty as I made her deservedly sound, she has never had compunctions about apologizing when she's wrong. So, she said that she wanted to say that she was very sorry for all the things that she had said to me starting on Sunday. She was sorry for throwing her shoe at me. She was sorry for the silent treatment, and she was sorry for doubting my judgment. I told her that I appreciated it. Then she told me that she quit yesterday. I told her that I very much agreed with that. She said that yesterday she went into the office and the boss was waiting for her in her office. Now, this is important to mention. Since the law firm is an old converted historic house close to downtown, most of the staff work in what used to be the main house. My fiancé's office was literally the outdoor shed/garage. It's a very nice and comfortable conversion, but it's still separated from the main house. So his sitting in her office meant he had to go out in the backyard, find a key he didn't usually have, unlock her space, and wait for her. He told her that he wanted to make sure there were no misunderstandings from the night prior and to make sure that all the doors weren't shut or some such nonsense. She told me that she told him that she was deeply upset by his proposal and didn't know what she was going to do. I guess he told her that her value in the company could either go up or down depending on how she decided to proceed. She said that she walked out on the spot and didn't go back to work. She spent the rest of the day with her sister trying to figure out what she was going to do. That was yesterday, and I guess she still doesn't know. I guess she spent all day today looking for other jobs and sitting in the employment office of her MBA office and talking with her advisor. I asked her why she just didn't tell me any of this yesterday and why she screamed at me. She said she was sorry again, but she was a little shell-shocked that she faced serious sexual harassment in her first job out of the gate and honestly didn't even know what she wanted to say to me. I told her that the silent treatment really hurt and that it allowed my imagination to run wild. I didn't tell her what I said here in my posts. She again said she was sorry and that the way she acted throughout the entire event wasn't fair. I told her that I really did love her, but I hadn't slept in 2 nights. I was exhausted and hurt and didn't know what to do. So, I was going to stay at my uncle's house for at least a few nights to sleep, if nothing else. She said that was fine, and she'd wait as long as I wanted her to. I told her that I think we need some sort of counseling so we learn how to talk better with each other. She agreed. So after that, I packed up a bag, and I'm now at my uncle's house. She did give me a hug and kiss on the cheek on my way out the door, which was pretty nice, but right now I need some sleep. Still, here's what I do know. I want to stay with her. I need to never use words like, you can't go ever again. I really do love her. We are fine with money without her working. I am co-owner of an auto repair business with my uncle, and we have had a great few years. And for what, I don't know and didn't ask yet at least, what is she going to do about her boss? How does this affect her future employment? I just hope she will realize we are fine without her working and she takes her time and finds a good job with a good boss. I'm sure there are a million other things I'm forgetting or questions I'm not answering. I think the moderators are sick of this thread, so it's locked now. Now on to the next story. Story 5. I accidentally caused a war between my family and my brother's wife's family with one innocent text message. My brother's wedding happened 2 days ago, and it turned into complete chaos, which I know even though I wasn't there. You might wonder why I didn't attend the wedding if it's my brother's. Well, it's because of his wife's family. He did send me an invitation to the wedding because he wanted me there, but his fiancée told him I couldn't attend because I had a boyfriend. You might be confused, but I'm a man, a bisexual man to be exact, and I have a boyfriend who I wanted to bring to the wedding. She said even though she doesn't have a problem with that, and he doesn't have a problem with that, her extremely religious parents, who already forced her to do the wedding in a church, would most likely banish us from the wedding and cause trouble between our families. After she told him that, my brother told me I couldn't attend and told me why. You might think I was angry. The truth is, I was relieved. I hate going to big events with lots of people because of my social anxiety, and I already was used to not being able to attend certain events because of my sexuality, so it was nothing I haven't heard before. So, on the day of the wedding, I stayed at home with my boyfriend. It's worth mentioning my parents apparently didn't know I wasn't attending the wedding. I was chilling at home, cuddling with my boyfriend, when I suddenly got a text message from my parents asking me where I was because they couldn't find me at the wedding party. I told them I wasn't attending the wedding, and if my brother hadn't told them anything. They said no and asked me what happened. I didn't see any reason to lie, so I sent them a text message telling them exactly why. Now I have to admit, I don't exactly know what happened after I sent them this message, because they read it but didn't reply. And why did they care in the first place? They didn't notice I wasn't there before until the wedding was already over. They only noticed when the wedding party started. However, apparently my parents talked to my brother about it, and all of a sudden, my absence was the main topic of the wedding party. From what I heard, 2 fronts formed. On the one hand, my parents and the rest of my family, against the family of my brother's wife. And apparently he, as a husband, now felt compelled to take her side and tried to argue in her favor. It's crazy to think that I was just sitting at home, living my best life with my boyfriend, while all of that went down at his wedding. The wedding party was ruined, and my brother appeared on my door, angrily screaming at me why I felt the need to ruin his wedding. I was confused and asked him what happened, and he told me everything. I told him it wasn't my intention. I just told our parents what happened because they didn't know and wanted to know where I was, and I thought he told them beforehand. He screamed at me that I ruined his wedding. I told him it's not my fault he wasn't honest with them. I just respected their wish to not attend the wedding. I couldn't know it would go down like this because, like I said, I couldn't attend several events before because of my sexuality, and my parents never said anything about it. So I thought it would be the same thing here. But I gotta admit, it's kind of sweet that my parents and the rest of my family stood up for me. They haven't done it before. That's a more than welcome change. But I still feel kind of bad because apparently I really ruined the wedding party. Update 1, June 2nd, 2023. Didn't think I'd give an update, but many interesting things happened. So, after my brother's visit, his wife and he went on their honeymoon, and the way the wedding party went might have been even worse than I imagined. What happens now is incredible. When I said in the main post that 2 fronts had formed, I only meant that metaphorically, of course, but it's no longer that. While nothing much interesting happened in the first 2 days afterwards, the terror started as soon as my brother and his wife went on their honeymoon. My mom and my dad visited me and told me how the wedding party escalated, and they were so close to physical violence. I thought it was funny at first, but this truly bothers me. I also want to point out that you did a great job at convincing me it's not my fault, but hearing my parents' side still gave me a bad feeling in my stomach. However, like I said, the terror started shortly after they went to their honeymoon, and when I say terror, I mean that my sister-in-law's family found both my Facebook and Instagram account and started spamming me with hateful messages. I received insults and hateful messages from various different accounts who all had one thing in common. They all had somewhat of a Christian theme, and all of them had the same last name. So it wasn't hard to find out whose accounts it was, mainly because I don't know my sister-in-law's family at all. I only know her, and I know her parents were homophobic Christians, but whatever. They not only started attacking me, they also found the account of my boyfriend over my account because we're linked as a couple, and started to send them the same messages. The messages contained on one side typical bigot stuff, like, "You're burning in hell for your sins." One even called me and my boyfriend two devils in disguise. The other side were just blatant insults. You get the idea. I called my parents and told them what they are doing. Then I sent a text message to my brother with screenshots of the messages his wife's family sent me, to which he replied that I shouldn't disturb him with that during his honeymoon, as I already destroyed his wedding party. Couldn't believe it. He was just like them. He did send me an apology after my mom told me she called him. But none of this is the main reason I'm giving you this update this early. Because I got a call this morning from an unknown number. I hesitated because I thought it was one of them, and I was right, but it was none of the people who insulted me. I heard a woman's voice who introduced herself as the half-sister of my brother's wife. She said it didn't go unnoticed what her family was doing, and she wanted to apologize for them. I told her I'm not going to tell anyone in her family about this and that I don't blame her for her family's actions. She thanked me and hung up. I don't know why, but I have this feeling she only did this to protect her family from being reported. My mother wrote to me earlier that she wants to report the insults and the harassment of these people, and that she demands for my brother to divorce his wife or she will disinherit him from her will because that's not how she raised him. A little radical in my opinion, but I understand where she's coming from. This entire thing escalated so much, it's unbelievable. Thank you all for your support on my first post. In between updates, I posted this on my profile. Why am I so casual about this entire situation? Some of you were wondering why I seem so calm and casual in the update when I'm discriminated against. The truth is that I am in a relationship with my boyfriend for 3 years now, and the things that happen now are nothing compared to what I've been through. I receive hateful messages almost daily, not only from their accounts but in general, and I learned to ignore that. There have been way worse situations, such as when my boyfriend went to visit his family and I couldn't go with him. We kissed each other goodbye on the train station, and when the train left and no one saw it, a group of guys attacked me. I was sent to the hospital because of severe injuries, just to give you an idea what I had to deal with in the past. And don't get me wrong, we will report my sister-in-law's family, but what they are doing is nothing I haven't seen 1,000 times before. Update 2, June 12, 2023. It's been a few days. First of all, me and my boyfriend are fine. Luckily for us, they didn't go any further than their text messages. My mom filed a report against them. I don't know the current situation about that as I haven't filed the report myself. The reason I update you is a different one. First of all, one person in my sister-in-law's family is actually going to testify in my favor and against her family. It really takes courage to do so. It's the same person that called me in the last update. Somehow they found out that she is into women. No reason to hide it anymore. However, she said she's fine and is going to stay at a friend's house. I have so much respect for what she does. Imagine the strength you need to testify against your own family. I now feel bad for assuming she only called me to save her family from being reported. More importantly, what is the current situation with my brother? While my mom talked to him and told him to leave his wife or she will disinherit him from her will, he decided to stay with his wife, and my mom made her threat come true. He's no longer in her will. My father did the same. When I visited them, I also told them that I wish that this entire situation went different. They assured me it's not my fault, but I feel like if it wasn't for me, then my family wouldn't be ripped apart like this. Haven't talked to my brother since then. My boyfriend feels similar. He also told me he kind of feels responsible for all this chaos. I assured him it's not his fault, but honestly, I wasn't even sure if I could say this in my position. On the other hand, It was my sister-in-law's family's bigotry that ruined everything, and everything would have been fine if I could have just attended. But now it's time for me to grow distant to this situation. We see what the report will do. I followed your advice, too. Document everything. The insulting and harassing messages continued until 2 days ago, so I have much to say about them. Unfortunately, homophobia is still very much normalized in our society. I already said it in a post on my profile, but the reason I'm so calm and casual about the situation is the simple fact that I'm used to situations like this. They don't get to me anymore. If I let any insult get to me, I wouldn't make it for a long time. It's a coping mechanism. I've been into situations where I was sent into the hospital because I kissed my boyfriend in public, so insults and harassment like theirs is nothing I haven't seen before. I want to say thank you for all your support on my first 2 posts. Update 3, August 22nd, 2023. I think some of y'all are waiting for an update, so here I am. Keep in mind that this update will probably be the last one. So, last time I told you my mother was pressing charges against them, and to my surprise, we won. They weren't going to jail or anything, but they had to pay for their actions, literally. There was one incident where my sister-in-law's dad was actually trying to find out where I lived and asked my brother, who told him. Only God knows what he would have done to us if we still had lived there. But in the time span of the last 2 months, me and my boyfriend moved to a different place which my brother didn't know anything of. Also, their social media accounts were deleted. However, I don't know if this was part of their punishment or if they did it themselves. My mom has also carried out the threat towards my brother and disinherited him from her will. After he came back from his honeymoon, he begged her to put him in again. She said only if he apologized to me. She invited me and my boyfriend over, and my brother sat in the living room with this mad look on his face. She made him apologize, but I didn't accept this apology because I could tell it wasn't sincere. He did it because he had to and not because he was actually sorry. I told my brother that I am disappointed in him for who he became. Before that, we had this huge bond, usually never judged each other for stuff like this, and all of a sudden, he has such a problem with me having a boyfriend. I just don't get it. I told him that I missed the old him. He didn't respond to anything. He just sat there quietly, staring at the bottom. After I finished, he just got up and left. This was the last time I spoke with him, and it's already been a few weeks since this happened. My parents paid much more attention to the discrimination I faced since this incident. They wanted to learn more about the problems I face as a queer person. I really love them. My dad even got a bisexual pride flag for me and asked if he could hang it in our bedroom. I love that I have such great parents. I just wished for my brother to become the person he once was. By the way, since the case with my sister-in-law's family is over, I didn't hear anything about their lesbian daughter. She supported us during the process, but we lost contact afterwards, and I just hope she's fine. Now on to the next story. Story 6. Caught my husband and sister having sex on our couch after he left our daughter crying with a broken arm. Now he's sending gifts begging for forgiveness while my sister lives in her car. I, 40F, and my husband, 42M, have been married since I was 22 and he was 24. Edit. Sorry, he was actually 23. Up until recently, I thought our marriage was basically perfect. We have 2 kids together, a daughter, 12, and a son, 14. We have a nice house in the suburbs, decent jobs, and I really thought we were happy. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but nothing major. We rarely fought, and when we did, it was usually over stupid stuff like him leaving his dirty socks on the floor or me spending too much on groceries. Everything was fine until I started getting this weird feeling that my husband had feelings for my sister. I can't exactly pinpoint when it started, but I think it was around my sister's divorce. To give some context about my sister, 43F, she's always had this weird hatred towards me, even though she was our parents' favorite growing up. Like, she got a car for her 16th birthday while I got a used bike. She always found ways to take away things I loved or was good at. When I was younger, I really loved playing soccer, and I was actually pretty good at it. My coach even said I had potential to play at college level someday. When my sister found out, she suddenly started playing soccer, too. She was decent, but honestly not better than me. Not trying to brag or anything, just stating facts. One day, She injured her ankles during practice and somehow convinced our parents it was my fault. She claimed I tripped her on purpose during a drill, which was complete bullshit. I was on the other side of the field when it happened. But being their favorite angel, they believed her without question and banned me from ever playing soccer again. They even made me quit the team I was on, which was humiliating because I had to tell everyone I couldn't play anymore for no good reason. That wasn't even the worst of it. She also stole my first boyfriend in high school. His name was Alan, and we'd been together for about 6 months, which is like forever when you're 15. One day, he just broke up with me out of nowhere, and the next week, he was dating my sister. She also bullied me relentlessly throughout high school, spreading rumors about me and making sure I didn't get invited to parties. I mostly kept to myself and never said anything to our parents because they always took her side anyway. After high school, I tried to distance myself from her as much as possible. I went to college in another state just to get away. I met my husband there during sophomore year. He was sweet and attentive, everything my sister wasn't. We dated for about 3 years before getting married right after graduation. My sister actually seemed jealous at our wedding. She wore white, who does that at someone else's wedding, and tried to make the day about her. My husband thought it was funny at the time and said she was just being quirky. Fast forward to now. I started getting this feeling that something was off with my husband because whenever my sister called needing something, he would drop everything to help her without a second thought. Need help moving a couch? He's there. Car broke down at 2 a.m.? He'll drive across town to pick her up. Computer problems? He'll spend hours fixing it. When she and her husband got divorced a while back, she immediately called my husband, and he rushed over to her place without even telling me first. That's just how it's always been. She needs him. He's there. No questions asked. I confronted him about it once or twice, but he always brushed it off, saying she was family and he was just being nice. He made me feel like I was being paranoid or jealous, so I tried to ignore it, but the feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. About 2 months ago, our daughter broke her arm after falling off her bike or something. We both took her to the hospital while our son was at his friend's place. The doctor said it was a clean break, but she'd need to wear a cast for like 6 weeks. She was pretty upset because she'd miss her dance recital and the end-of-year pool party at school. When we got home, our daughter asked if she could get McDonald's because she was hungry and hospital food sucks. She also wanted her dad to stay with her. She's always been a major daddy's girl, so I went out to get her some food while he stayed home with her. I remember it was raining that night and the drive-thru was packed, so it took longer than usual. When I came back, maybe 30 minutes later, I found my husband on his way out the door with our daughter crying and literally begging him to stay. She was holding on to his leg with her good arm, sobbing that her arm hurt and she wanted him to watch a movie with her. I rushed over and asked what was happening, and he told me he was going to my sister's place because she wasn't feeling well. I asked him why the hell he was going there when his own daughter had literally just broken her arm, and all he said was, "Your sister needs me," and then he just left. Like, he actually just walked out the door while our daughter was in tears. I was beyond pissed. After I got our daughter settled with her Happy Meal and put on her favorite Disney movie, I called my son and told him to come home. I packed bags for me and both kids and went to stay at my aunt's place. My aunt was the only one in my family who ever acknowledged that my sister was a spoiled brat, so I spent a lot of my childhood with her anyway. My husband called about a dozen times that night, but I didn't answer. I was too angry. He left voicemails saying my sister had some kind of emergency, but wouldn't specify what kind. He said he'd be home in the morning and we could talk then. I didn't care what his excuse was at that point. My aunt was super supportive when I told her what happened. She made up the guest rooms for us and even went out to buy my daughter's favorite cereal for breakfast. The kids were confused about why we were staying there, but I just told them Dad and I needed some space for a couple days. My son seemed to suspect there was more to it, but he didn't push. 2 days later, I realized I'd forgotten my work computer at home, which I needed for a meeting the next day. I went back to get it while the kids were at school, thinking my husband would be at work. He works in IT for some company downtown and usually leaves early. I still had my key, obviously, so I let myself in. When I walked in, I almost dropped my keys. My husband and my sister were on our family couch doing Well, you know what they were doing? They were so into it, they didn't even hear me come in at first. When they finally noticed me, they scrambled to get dressed. My sister grabbed her clothes and ran to the bathroom while my husband pulled on his pants and ran over to me, saying it wasn't what it looked like and that it was all a misunderstanding. Like, seriously, how is having sex with my sister on our family couch a misunderstanding? I just stood there for a minute, honestly too shocked to even process what I was seeing. Then I started yelling at him, asking how he could do this to me and if I meant nothing to him after almost 20 years together. I asked how long it had been going on. He tried to claim it was just this once, but I didn't believe him for a second. I told him I wanted a divorce and then I left. I didn't even bother getting my computer. I just needed to get out of there. When I got back to my aunt's place, I went into the room I was staying in and completely broke down crying. I think I cried for like 3 hours straight. My aunt came in to check on me and found me just sitting on the floor, staring at the wall. I told her what happened, and she was absolutely furious. I've never seen her so angry. She called my sister some names I won't repeat here. She told our parents and most of our family members, even though I asked her not to. But honestly, part of me is glad she did, because I don't think I would have had the courage to tell them myself. My mom called crying, saying she couldn't believe my sister would do something like this. My dad was oddly quiet, which is unusual for him. I think he was in shock. My husband and sister have been blowing up my phone with texts and calls, but I've been ignoring them. My husband's messages started with him begging for forgiveness, saying it was a mistake, and he still loves me. Then they turned angry when I wouldn't respond, saying I was overreacting and needed to come home to discuss this like adults. My sister's messages were even worse. She actually had the nerve to say that they were in love and had been fighting their feelings for years. Like that makes it better somehow. I just don't know how I'm going to tell my kids. What am I supposed to say? Your dad is fucking your aunt. Sorry for the language, but I'm just so angry and hurt right now. My son is at that age where he's starting to notice things between men and women, and my daughter idolizes her dad. This is going to crush them both. I called in sick to work for the rest of the week. I've just been laying in bed most of the time, trying to figure out what to do next. My aunt has been amazing, taking care of the kids and making sure they get to school. She told them I have the flu. I don't even know what I'm asking here. What would you do in my situation? I feel like my whole life has been a lie, and I don't know where to go from here. Update 1. Wow. I can't believe how many comments this got. I had to turn off notifications because my phone was blowing up. Thank you all so much for the support and love you've shown me. It makes me feel less alone, knowing that even though I don't know any of you, you're all here for me. I've been reading through all your comments and advice. Some of you asked for more details that I didn't include in my original post, so I'll try to address those. Someone in the comments asked if my sister and I have different body types, and yes, we do. She's always hated that I was skinnier than her and made sure to comment on my weight every chance she got. Even after having 2 kids, I'm still smaller than her, which has always been a sore point. She would say things like, "Must be nice to eat whatever you want and not gain weight," or, "You should eat a burger. You look sick." Meanwhile, I've always struggled with body image issues and had an eating disorder in college, which she knows about. Anyway, here's what's been happening. I've barely been sleeping or eating since I found out. My aunt has been practically forcing me to eat something every day. I told my kids that things weren't working well at work, and that was why I seemed sad. They believed me, which I was glad about because I still can't bring myself to tell them the truth about their father. My daughter keeps asking when we're going home, and it breaks my heart every time. One thing I didn't mention in my original post was that my sister and her ex-husband, let's call him Thomas, got divorced about a year ago. Thomas is actually a really great guy, super hot and such a nice person. Sorry, but it's true. He works as a personal trainer or something like that. He's basically everything my sister doesn't deserve. They got divorced because she had been mentally abusing him throughout their whole relationship. She would constantly put him down, control where he went and who he talked to, check his phone. Typical narcissist behavior. She had recently started physically abusing him, too. And that's when he decided enough was enough and filed for divorce. I remember he had a black eye at our family Christmas party last year, and she claimed he walked into a door. We all believed her at the time. Of course, being the person that she is, she spread lies about how he was the one doing the abuse. She told everyone who would listen that he was violent and controlling, and some people in our family actually believed her. My parents sent her money to help with lawyer fees, which makes me sick now knowing the truth. I contacted Thomas to talk with him and asked if he wanted to help me get some revenge. He agreed right away, said he'd been waiting for my sister to get what was coming to her. We made plans to meet up at this cafe downtown. I was nervous about seeing him because we never really talked much when he was married to my sister. She always kept him away from the rest of the family, especially me. We met and just talked for hours about how abusive she was to him and how he also suspected she had feelings for my husband. He said there were times when he'd come home and find them sitting way too close on the couch, or she'd be laughing too hard at my husband's jokes. Little things that didn't seem important at the time but make sense now. I told him what I saw and we decided to start our revenge plan. First, we reported my sister to the police for the abuse she inflicted on Thomas. At first, the officer was skeptical because, male victim and all that, but Thomas still had a bruise on his arm from where she had hit him with some kind of picture frame, and he had texts from her threatening him. The police told us they would start investigating and advised us to get a lawyer. I'm not sure if anything will come of it legally, but at least it's on record now. Then, I took all the money from the shared account my husband and I had and put it in a new account in just my name. It was about $15,000, which isn't a ton, but it's enough to help me get started on my own. I don't know if this is legal, but frankly, I don't care at this point. Since I own our house, it was inherited from my grandparents, I decided I was going to kick him out. My name is the only one on the deed. I got a lawyer and started the divorce process, which I knew was going to be a long and difficult battle, but I was willing to do whatever it took to get away from him. My lawyer said I have a strong case for a favorable settlement given the circumstances, especially since I have proof of the affair. I took pictures with my phone before I left that day, which I forgot to mention in my last post. Later that week, I sat my kids down and told them everything. I know some of you advised waiting, but I couldn't keep lying to them. My son was furious, but my daughter didn't believe me at all and told me I was lying. She accused me of making it up because I was jealous of her relationship with her dad. That hurt, but I understand she's just trying to protect herself from a painful truth. I told her that even though she might think I'm lying, I wasn't going to stop her from seeing her dad if she wanted to. That same day, I got home from work to find my aunt had gathered my parents, my husband's parents, my husband, and my sister all at her house. I had no idea she was planning this. Turns out my aunt finally had enough of my sister and told the whole family what I had seen. She also revealed that my sister had been in and out of jail multiple times for things like shoplifting and drunk driving, and my aunt was always the one bailing her out. This was news to me, too. My parents had kept all this from me, probably to protect me or some shit like that. My parents were furious and started yelling at my sister about what a disappointment she was. My mom actually slapped her and told her they never wanted to see her again. It was intense. My husband's parents told him they never thought he could stoop so low, especially since his mom raised him as a single parent before she met his stepdad, who he calls dad. They've always been good people, and I know they're ashamed of him now. My daughter stood up and yelled at her dad, telling him how much she hated him and never wanted to see him again. Then she ran upstairs to the room she was sharing with her brother at my aunt's house and slammed the door. My son just gave his dad this really disappointed look and followed his sister upstairs. It broke my heart to see them hurting like that, but at least now they know the truth. My husband actually knelt in front of me and begged for forgiveness. He was crying and saying he made a huge mistake and would do anything to fix it. I told him he had 2 days to pack his shit and leave our house or I'd call the cops. He started sobbing and said he had nowhere to go since his parents told him he wasn't welcome at their place anymore. I told him I didn't care and that I wanted a divorce. He could sleep in his car for all I cared. He eventually said okay and left with red, teary eyes. My sister just stood there through all of this, not saying a word. She didn't apologize or try to defend herself. She just looked empty, almost like she was bored by the whole situation. I don't understand how someone can cause so much pain and not feel anything about it. 2 days later, I went back home with my kids. They hadn't been to school since finding out and were having a really hard time, especially my daughter. She would swing between crying and being angry, sometimes breaking things in her room. My son was quieter about it, but I could tell he was hurting too. He stopped playing video games, which is very unlike him. I sat them both down and held them in my arms, telling them we were strong and we would get through this no matter what. I promised I'd always be there for them. They both broke down crying until they fell asleep. I woke them up to take them to their beds, then went downstairs and had my own breakdown. I can't let my kids see how hard this is on me. I have to be strong for them. I heard the doorbell ring and thought it was my ex coming back, but it was Thomas. He came by to check on me because I hadn't been answering my phone. It was on silent. He sat with me while I cried, telling him I couldn't do this on my own. It felt good to just let it all out with someone who understood what my sister was capable of. He stayed the night on the couch, and when I woke up, he had made breakfast for me and the kids, just eggs and toast, but it was nice not to have to do it myself for once. The kids seemed to enjoy having him there. He asked if they wanted to go somewhere special with him, like the arcade or the movies, and they just shrugged. I was about to tell him it was okay, that they didn't have to go, but he somehow talked them into it and they finally agreed, running to their rooms to get ready. I gave him a big hug and thanked him, and he hugged me back, telling me to take all the time I needed. For clarity, my kids have always been close with Thomas. He was married to my sister for like 7 years and was always the one who would play with them at family gatherings while my sister ignored them. When they came back home later, I almost started crying again at what I saw. Thomas had ordered their favorite takeout, and they were sitting on the sofa eating while my daughter was cuddled up against his side, her eyes red from crying. I quietly took off my shoes and jacket before joining them with a smile. My son ran up and gave me a big hug, and we all enjoyed our night together. It was the first time I'd seen them smile in days. I had a talk with my kids, and they agreed that we should all start seeing therapists. Thomas helped convince them because he was seeing one himself after everything with my sister. I found a family therapist who specializes in divorce trauma, and we have our first appointment next week. My husband keeps blowing up my phone with texts and calls, but I just blocked him. I've also cut off my parents, at least for now. I'm still too angry about them hiding my sister's legal issues from me and always taking her side. I got tested for STDs. All clear. Thank God. That's all for now. I'll update if anything else happens. Again, thank you all for the support. Update 2. Hey everyone. It's been a while since my last update. I've been super busy with work, my kids, therapy, and just everything else. Things are starting to get better for me, and I'm beginning to feel good again, mostly thanks to Thomas. A lot of you have been asking for an update, so here it is. Sorry it took so long. My daughter has been trying her best, but it's still really hard for her. Sometimes she'll come to me or Thomas crying about how much she hates her dad, and other times she'll go crying to him because she wants his comfort. I don't blame her and never will. It breaks my heart to see her suffering so much. All she wants is for our family to be back together, and I wish I could give her that, but the damage has been done. My daughter and son had their first therapy session last week, and the therapist said this kind of back and forth is normal for kids their age. They don't know how to process these complicated feelings. One minute they are angry at their dad for what he did, and the next minute they miss him and the way things used to be. As for my ex, he broke things off completely with my sister and hasn't spoken to her since. I guess even he has standards. He got himself a good-paying job. He worked at his dad's company before all this and got fired, and is living in a really nice house because, for some reason, he had been saving up money just in case I caught him and my sister one day. I know all this because my daughter tells me everything. I don't press her for information, but she says she wants me to know what's going on in her dad's life. Apparently, he asks about me all the time, wants to know if I'm dating anyone or if I miss him. I told her she doesn't have to be our messenger, but she insists she wants to be involved. My son doesn't speak to his father at all and never visits. I'm not going to force him to. The divorce is moving along slowly. My ex is contesting pretty much everything, trying to drag it out as long as possible. My lawyer says this is a common tactic. He's hoping I'll get tired of fighting and agree to less favorable terms. Not happening. My ex has been trying to get in touch with me and sends me flowers and gifts. I accept them because I hate throwing away perfectly good things. It's just not who I am. And if I'm being honest, part of me still loves him. It's not easy to let go of those feelings overnight. We were together for almost 20 years. That doesn't just disappear even after what he did. From what I've heard, my sister is living in her car and working at a very low-paying job, some fast food place. I think her life has pretty much fallen apart since all this came out. She lost her job, she was a receptionist at a dentist's office, and most of our family won't speak to her. One thing I want to make clear is that if my sister becomes homeless, I'm going to help her because I just can't stand by and watch her live on the street, knowing how dangerous our town gets at night. I know a lot of you will think I'm crazy for even considering helping her after what she did. But she's still human, you know. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if something happened to her when I could have helped. Thomas has been a great help for all of us. But like I said before, I have no interest in him, and neither does he have any interest in me. That's all for now. I'll update if anything else happens. Again, thank you all so much for the love and support. It means the world to me, and I love you all. Update 3. Hey y'all. I posted an update not too long ago, and 2 things got a lot of attention in the comments. 1, me accepting gifts from my ex, and 2, helping my sister in the future. Let me start with the first one. The only reason I don't throw away the gifts from him is because I hate the idea of throwing away things that are in perfectly good condition. I was raised to never waste anything that could be useful to someone else. Thomas gave me a good idea about going to a women's shelter or orphanage and donating them. My ex usually gives me flowers, teddy bears, or jewelry, which I'm not going to use, so I'll be giving them away. The flowers I can't really donate, but the rest I can. I've already taken a box of stuff to the local shelter, and it felt good to at least get some positive use out of his guilt gifts. As for helping my sister, I don't mean inviting her into my house. God, no, I'm not that stupid. I'm talking about giving her some money because in my town, it's extremely dangerous for a woman to be alone at night. There have been several assaults in the past few months, especially in the areas where homeless people tend to gather. That's only if my parents fail to help her, which they probably won't. They're still furious, but they've never been able to stay mad at her for long. I know what she did was terrible, but I can't stand by and watch her get assaulted. That might make me weak or a pushover in some people's eyes, but I couldn't live with that on my conscience. Some of you asked why I haven't just changed my number to stop getting messages from my ex. The thing is, with the divorce proceedings still ongoing, my lawyer advised me to keep the same number for now. Plus, I don't want to make things harder for my daughter who still sees him regularly. She needs to be able to reach me when she's with him. Edit. Don't worry. I would never let that demon of a person close to my kids or Thomas. She ruined her life, and the only thing I'll make sure of is that she keeps her car. Nothing else, no contact. I would never cause the people around me more trauma than they already have. As for my ex, we have no future together, and I'm going to make sure he gets that through his thick skull. Someone in the comments said that my daughter might be telling my ex about me. I hope she is. I want him to know how much better we're doing without him. And as for the money he saved up, I don't want it. I have a high-paying job, and my babies always get what they need when they need it. So we don't need his help or his filthy money. Now on to the next story. Story 7. Made birthday cakes for my friends, but never got invited to one girl's wedding. She demanded I make her wedding cake as a gift anyway, then started drama in our group chat when I refused. I would appreciate any advice or suggestions on how to approach this situation. I'll change the names of those involved. I have a group of friends, though not all of them are truly close to me. Most of them are more friends by association, but we all go out together and have a good time. I do consider Maddie and Jessie to be real friends. For Maddie's birthday, I got her a cake. Jessie had a small civil wedding, and Maddie offered to bring wine for the celebration at her place, while I offered to bring a cake. There's a girl in the group named Carly, and my relationship with her is neither friendly nor unfriendly. She's always shown some apathy towards me, and I know she doesn't really like me. I don't dislike her, but I get the sense we wouldn't be friends since we have different perspectives. During the celebration, Carly commented that she liked the cake, and Jessie mentioned that I had brought it. Carly said it was good, but that it tasted a bit dry. Everyone exchanged looks and changed the subject, but Carly kept talking about the cake. I didn't say anything about it. Carly had been planning her wedding before Jesse got married. She used to invite Maddie, Jesse, and other girls to discuss prices and ask for opinions on things, but she never asked me for my help or advice. I had assumed I wasn't going to be invited. Everyone else got an invitation, and I wasn't surprised when I didn't receive one. Jesse wanted to talk to Carly about it, but I asked her not to, as I didn't want a pity invitation and understood that Carly wouldn't invite me because we're not friends. Jesse told me she wouldn't attend if it would make me feel bad, but I told her not to worry about it. Then, Carly messaged me on WhatsApp to ask about cake designs and filling options. I thought she already had that figured out since her wedding was coming up and she'd been planning it for a while. I sent her the catalog, and she commented on a few options she liked. She asked if I did the setup, to which I replied yes and sent her some example photos. She only reacted to the photos with a thumbs up, and we didn't talk any further. She didn't ask for a quote or schedule a consultation, so I assumed she wasn't interested in my service. This was over a month ago. Today, we went out to eat and everyone was talking about the wedding. Her fiancé asked who I'd be bringing. I'm single, so I told him I wouldn't be attending. He asked why, and to keep the mood light and avoid drama, I mentioned I'd be traveling to visit my parents. He understood, but Carly asked me when I was leaving. I told her I'd be leaving on Wednesday, and she said, "The wedding's on Saturday. How are you going to set up the cake and desserts?" I asked which cake she was referring to, and she replied, "The one you're bringing to my wedding." I told her we didn't have anything scheduled, and she insisted she had our messages. I clarified that I had only given her options and set up photos, and since she didn't follow up, I assumed she wasn't interested. Her fiancé asked if anything could be done about it. I explained that the bakery requires a contract and a deposit. Maddie asked if Carly had paid a deposit or requested a contract. Carly replied asking why she would need two since it was my wedding gift to her and that I should make sure she had her cake for Saturday. I explained that I don't handle the bakery schedule and that with the wedding so close, they wouldn't accept a new order. Carly seemed upset and looked very uncomfortable. I asked for my bill, paid, and said goodbye, saying I needed to go. I really don't want to lose my friendship with the group, since I'm not from this city and I felt comfortable with them. I don't want this to create tension, but I also don't know how to handle conflicts. I know it's a bit sad that I can't stand up for myself and would rather avoid confrontation. Maddie told me that after I left, Carly said it wasn't fair for me to back out after agreeing, and some people in the group hinted that maybe I didn't want to go to the wedding because I didn't want to give her the cake. Jesse said I wasn't invited, and Carly replied that she had invited me. Comments where OP has replied. Commenter 1. It's not okay for her to expect a gift, especially a big cake, from someone she didn't even invite to her wedding. You were right to tell her you hadn't agreed to make the cake. It makes sense that you wouldn't want to give something so big to someone who doesn't seem to like you very much. OP. And especially for me to give her that gift when we don't even have a relationship. Commenter 2. It sounds like Carly is trying to control the narrative. You might be best to explain things to your group, including copies of your correspondence. Otherwise, you might lose a few friends who are listening to Carly. Maybe even let her fiancé know. OP. Yes, they are really more friends I've been dealing with for 2 years, and they are high school friends. Update 1. November 11th, 2024. I hope those who gave me advice and asked for an update can see this. To those who asked why I didn't stand up for myself and let things get so out of hand, as I mentioned before, I don't like confronting people. I get nervous, feel like I can't breathe. When I had presentations in school, I used to throw up before and after each one. Sometimes I've even kept items I didn't order or didn't want just because I was too embarrassed to exchange them. I've been in therapy, and thanks to that, I'm now able to work as a cashier in a bakery. I don't think I could have done that before. I've come a long way, but I still get nervous speaking in public. I have a younger sister, and she used to go everywhere with me. I'd give her the money, and she would pay, because just talking to the cashier would leave me breathless. I know people often feel sorry for those who seem weak, and I don't want to be seen that way or treated condescendingly. Someone sent me a private message asking our ages. I'm 21, Maddie is 30, Carly is 30, Anna is 31. Carly's fiancé is 31. Jesse is 30. I hope that helps clarify a bit more. Now, here's what happened next. Someone suggested what I could say to Carly, and I sent it to her. She replied saying she thought I wouldn't mind and that I owed her a gift anyway, and she'd chosen the cake as her gift. I replied that only guests are responsible for giving gifts. She asked what I meant, and I clarified that she hadn't invited me to the wedding. She left me on read. I messaged her fiancé something like, I don't want to cause drama or any misunderstandings, but I didn't commit to giving her the wedding cake. I sent him screenshots of our conversation, and he called me right away. He apologized and said he thought it was odd when Carly told him I had offered to give her the cake. I mentioned it seemed even stranger to me since I wasn't even invited. He asked if I was serious, and I told him yes, but that I wasn't upset and understood if it was something private. He apologized again and we ended the call. Around noon, Carly messaged me saying I was making a fuss over nothing, as if I couldn't just give her the damn cake. She didn't understand why I was being so sensitive, saying I'd given Maddie a cake and Jessie one as well, and asked me to explain why I couldn't do the same for her. I replied that Maddie's cake was a birthday cake, and although Jessie's was for her wedding, it wasn't a wedding cake. Carly answered that it didn't matter what the cake was for. I told her if that was the case, she could buy one from the supermarket. She started typing, but I blocked her before the message came through. Then Carly sent a message to the group with only the part where I told her to buy it at the supermarket, saying it was insulting and showed how little I valued her wedding, so no one could say she was the bad one. I responded to the group with a suggestion someone gave me in a comment, which I adapted a bit. Hey everyone, I want to clear up some confusion and rumors. I won't be attending the wedding because I didn't receive an invitation. I understood and made other plans for that time. Since the rest of you were invited, I'm not hurt or upset. It is what it is. The confusion about the cake is as baffling to me as it is to you. I only provided information on models and fillings from the place where I work, and that's all. I don't understand why it's expected that I cover a cake for a wedding I'm not invited to. It's true I suggested the supermarket, as she said the purpose of the cake didn't matter. I hope this clears everything up. I wish you all a wonderful time celebrating Carly and her fiancé. Congratulations in advance to the happy couple. And I hope those not involved don't feel caught in the middle. I posted screenshots where she reacted with a thumbs up when I sent the samples, along with all the conversations from that day and today. After a while, someone commented that the group wasn't meant for this kind of drama and that we should resolve it privately. Maddie jumped in and said Carly demanded the cake in public, so it's only fair that everything is explained publicly. Another girl, let's call her Anna, commented, that's not the way to ask for a gift. Carly saw everything and sent a voice note saying she didn't know a simple cake would ruin my finances, but that it was fine and that I shouldn't have shared everything in the chat. Then she sent a second message saying that when I get married and don't have friends who can help me out with things from their jobs, I'll understand what it's like to be without support. A guy replied, tagging her, you didn't invite her. Carly responded saying she had sent the invitation. Another guy asked, do you have the confirmation? Carly, no, but she should have told me when she saw she didn't get the invite. Jessie replied that she didn't like Carly's attitude, that she even considered not going and would only attend for the fiancé's sake. Carly then said, so no one says I didn't invite you. Everyone can see here I'm inviting you now. I'll send an electronic invite since there's no point in printing one now. I replied not to bother as I already had plans. Carly replied, there you all see. Then someone who hadn't spoken left the group. Update 2. November 21st, 2024. Hey everyone. Before I get into what happened, I just want to thank you all for your kindness and great advice. I'll try to explain everything in order this time. I tend to be really brief when I talk, which can confuse people, but I don't mind clarifying things. You're all great. It's just something about how I talk. My sister always has to ask me stuff like, did this happen before or after? Or what happened next? Just to clear things up. When Carly tried Jessie's cake, she had already sent out the invitations. That was on Monday. The group chat went quiet after that, and the groom muted it since he's the only admin. On Tuesday, the groom came by the bakery to ask how I was doing. He apologized for Carly, saying he felt bad about the way she treated me. Then he gave me an invitation. It wasn't like the originals. It was just a plain white envelope with a printed letter inside. I know you guys like the details. He asked me to come to the wedding, but I told him I already had plans and wouldn't feel comfortable going. He asked why I didn't say anything when I didn't get an invitation. I told him honestly that I was embarrassed to be the only one left out, but I understood. He said he didn't know and that when Maddie brought it up, Carly claimed she had sent it but would check. He kept asking me to come, saying it would mean a lot to him. I said no. I'm learning to say no, and honestly, it feels great. He asked me to think about it, left the invitation, and left. Later that night, he added the guy who had left the chat before, the best man, back into the group. Then he sent a message saying something like, "The issue has been resolved. It was just a misunderstanding. We hope OP will join Carly and me on our big day. It would be so sad and we'd really miss her if she doesn't come. OP, please come celebrate with us." Anna sent me a private message asking, "Did the groom really bring you an invitation?" I told her yes, and she said, "Send me a picture of it." When I sent it, she replied, "What an idiot." She added, "Don't go if you don't want to. Don't let him ease his guilt. He's no better than Carly." I thanked her and we wished each other good night. The groom reactivated the chat, and Carly replied to his message with 2 crying emojis. "Yes, OP." Then the best man left the group again without saying anything. I left the group too and turned off my phone. When I got to my parents' house, I turned my phone back on and saw a ton of messages. I didn't know what Carly had said, but I assume it was about me because Anna sent me angry messages like, "That was way too much." The groom had sent, "She's already here, calm down." Carly had sent a bunch of messages in the group asking why I wasn't responding. Maddie replied to one of Carly's messages, which I couldn't see, saying, "Why do you want her to respond if that's how you feel?" Apparently, Carly had said something like, "That idiot never has an opinion on anything, and now she's trying to act all interesting." Jessie replied in the group saying, "She's not getting the messages. She's not seeing this." I had a lot of private messages from Jessie, but I opened the group chat first. There were more messages, but honestly, I wasn't feeling well. I turned off my phone again. On Saturday, the wedding happened, and I saw the photos on Facebook. Jessie and Maddie had messaged me privately, but I didn't know what to say. Maddie ended up coming to see me at work. She asked if I was upset that she went to the wedding. I told her I wasn't. She mentioned I hadn't replied to her messages, and I said I was just stressed. She also told me she asked Carly's mom about the whole cake thing. Carly's mom said she didn't get it either because Carly had wanted another girl to buy her cake a week before the wedding. Maddie told her that Carly had originally chosen a dummy cake and the guest cake was pre-ordered as individual servings. Carly's mom said she'd talked to her but figured it was just a misunderstanding. Maddie also mentioned the best man told her he's cutting ties with the groom because of the resort issue and everything else that happened. She said Carly was in a bad mood at the wedding and the groom got drunk, so they left early, but otherwise the wedding was nice. The original bridesmaids didn't end up being in the wedding, it was different girls. Maddie also said neither the best man nor Anna attended. Edit. Anna didn't send me angry messages. She sent them to Carly. The group is on WhatsApp. The messages I received were after I was added back and the one Maddie selected. I'll tell you what happened with the best man. He's not on my side. He had a separate issue with the boyfriend and Carly. If Anna doesn't like something, she'll tell you. She didn't stand up for me because of me. She would have done it for anyone. I cleared it up this way because I'd like to read all your messages, and I hope the next time I update it will be the last because it's been a lot. Sometimes I think I should have just given the cake as a gift. Some people at my work know what happened, and it's awkward. I can talk about it easily here, but in person it's harder for me. Additional information from OP clarifying on getting messages from group chats. OP. I'm not sure if this works the same in all chats, but the group is on WhatsApp. If someone sends something and you're added later, you won't be able to see it. However, someone who was in the group before you can see it and reply to that message, but it will still not be visible to you. For example, if someone sent a photo before you were added, the people discussing the photo can reference it and bring it back into the conversation, but you can't download or interact with it unless someone sends it again. Comment where OP has replied. Commenter 1. So, do you know the guy formerly known as the best man at all? Just wondering if he was just pissed off at their shitty behavior in general or specifically towards you because he likes you. Would also give another clue as to why Carly doesn't like you. She's jealous the BM fancies you. OP? I don't think so. He was upset earlier about an overcharge on a reservation he made for the boyfriend and Carly. OP clarifies on the resort issue. OP. The best man works at a resort and got a deal with some services not included. Carly got bored because it was a weekday and asked for a few things, which resulted in an extra charge. The groom couldn't cover the cost, so the best man paid for it, and the groom said he would pay him back. Update 3. December 16, 2024. Hello. I couldn't update earlier because I was moving houses, and I had a legal issue with Carly. First of all, I see that I didn't explain properly what happened with the resort. The godfather, who works at an expensive resort, was going to be the godfather, and Carly wanted to go, but her boyfriend couldn't afford it. She talked to him, and the godfather said he could get her a deal, but only for 3 weekdays, not the weekend. Carly and her boyfriend accepted the discount, but some services weren't included, like room service and massages. Carly got upset because it was empty during the week and didn't like the activities. She ordered several things to the room, and I don't know what else she did, but there was a huge extra charge. The boyfriend couldn't cover it, and the godfather got furious. The boyfriend said he would pay half and the godfather would cover the other half, and he would reimburse him after the wedding. Carly had written to the godfather saying she hoped to get a bigger discount this time, since he always brags about his work, and so that the same thing doesn't happen again. He said that it upset him because he had worked problems, and he sent her the reservation photo saying, "I'm out of this." The boyfriend called him, and according to him, the godfather told him to consider that debt as his wedding gift and not to involve him in the group again. That's why he left the group the first time. I knew about the resort, but not that Carly wanted to go again. One of the bridesmaids, who is a friend of Maddie and very close to Carly, said Carly was nervous and that those were normal things for a bridezilla. She said Carly told her the color of the dress, but didn't give her any ideas about the design or exact shades. They sent it to her before ordering it online. Carly agreed, but when she saw the dress in person, she said she didn't like it even though they told her she had agreed to it based on the photos. She told them the dress looked different in person. Some bridesmaids backed out because they couldn't afford another dress, and the girl commented that the boyfriend had said he considered the girls as substitutes for the bridesmaids. She disagreed because Jesse and Maddie were married and didn't want to be part of the joke of catching the bouquet. The boyfriend suggested they not be part of the tradition of catching the bouquet, but she said that would draw more attention. This is what she said. I can't confirm if it's true. This girl also said Carly often repeated a story about when we all ordered drinks and Carly intentionally took mine because she knew I wouldn't change it. I always order the same thing. I don't like trying new things. I always order the same drink, the same ice cream flavor, the same food. Because of that and more, it makes sense that she might have done it just to make me look bad. I didn't even remember that, and she said Carly tells the story as a very funny joke. There was silence, then they changed the subject. I listened to them, and for the first time I didn't care about what they were talking about. Since that day, mentally, they were no longer my friends. At least a week passed after that. I don't have proof, but everything they said about Carly, even though I didn't comment, wasn't because of her. I don't like talking about people. Came across as if I had said it, and Carly came to complain to my workplace. She started shouting at me, and I told her to leave. She broke a glass, and when other employees came out, she came at me. I had never fought with anyone, and I was angry because of how she made my days difficult. When she came at me, I grabbed a tray, one that was used for baking bread. I don't know how many times I hit her with it, but I fractured her arm. She sued me, but there are videos showing she attacked me and pulled my hair. She showed up with scratches on her face, and I don't remember doing that. The bakery owner summoned her to the prosecutor's office for the damages, and she tried to make me equally responsible, but she had broken the glass before I assaulted her. Maddie and Jesse have tried to talk to me, offer their support. I told them I didn't want their friendship anymore. They insist they weren't the ones who spoke to Carly, but it's strange that this happened right after they saw each other. Could have been the godmother, but what Jesse said about Carly was what Carly confronted me about, so I don't believe them, because Carly confronted me about liking her boyfriend, and the one who asked me if I liked him was Maddie, and I told her no, and not just him. She asked me about several guys one by one who I liked, and I told her no. This was a long time ago, so it's strange that it's coming up now and so distorted. There have been threats, which is why I moved. Sorry if this bothers you. I'm not a violent person, although it seems like this made me better. It really hasn't. Now I'm more anxious and stressed. I've never had legal problems before, and this is how I'll start 2025. Now on to the next story. Story 8. Boyfriend thought it was hilarious to constantly burp and fart in my face. When I finally broke down and left him, he showed up at my home, attacked my friend, and revealed his true self. Hello Reddit. I've been dating James for just over a year. We have a really good relationship, and we are good with communicating any issues that have come up. I am very much in love with him, and we are happy. Now, maybe he is very comfortable with me, which I know is a good thing, but I'm very frustrated, and I don't know if it's just me. This is the only issue I have with him. He's just constantly farting and burping, and it's starting to really gross me out. It feels stupid to even type that, but it's really become excessive. We are both graduated from school and work full-time. We do not live together, but he is starting to move into my apartment. This started about 5 months into our relationship, and it has gotten progressively worse. He will burp constantly and blow it into my face to a point where I will start dry heaving because he thinks it's funny. He does the same thing with farting, always trying to do it on me because he thinks it's hilarious. I know it's normal. I grew up with 4 brothers, but he is constantly forcing it to happen. This is not once or twice. We have spent almost every night together the past 6 months, and it will happen all night. I have asked him to please stop because I find it really gross, especially the burping because he will do it in my face and it turns my stomach. He will apologize but still continue to do it, or lean in for a kiss and burp in my face instead, then laugh himself to the point of tears when I act disgusted. I thought maybe at first he was just really gassy and I should be more understanding because it's a natural bodily function. He does not do this when we are out to dinner or with friends. A few months ago, we went to a wedding together with some members of his family, and he accidentally burped really loudly, like he normally does when he is alone with me, and our table went really silent and glared at him. I didn't want him to be embarrassed, so I high-fived him and said, "Good one!" And the whole table started laughing and cheering. Afterwards, he pulled me aside and said he was thankful I did so, as he was humiliated but I broke the ice. I was a bit drunk and frustrated, so I asked him why he does it to me constantly but he wouldn't do it in front of other people. His reasoning is that I am his girlfriend and he should be able to play around with me like that I was being a typical girl for finding it rude, uptight, and high maintenance. I didn't want to argue about it, so I told him I was none of those things and he knew it. Cut the shit. We'll talk about it later when we're sober, and just have a fun time at the party for now. And we did, but it never changes. I've tried to make plans to be out of the house when we see each other because, even though it seems ridiculous, it's starting to stress me out. I can't talk to any of my friends about it because they think it's so funny. He is a very sweet guy, and I like spending time with him, but I feel nauseous when we are alone together because it's just so gross. He is starting to work longer shifts, so he wants to stay in a lot most nights to relax. He started doing it during sex as a joke, and our sex life has really suffered because of it. A few nights ago, he was texting me before he got off work complaining about his day, and he seemed really stressed out, so I told him I would come over and I'll make his favorite and I'll make him forget about it. So I went over to his house and started cooking until he was off. After dinner, he leaned in to kiss me, and I turned my head because I'm so used to him burping in my face. We had an argument because he was accusing me of cheating. We haven't been having sex. I told him it was because of the burping, and he said I needed to get over it, that he was only joking and I was being such a prud, that his girlfriend shouldn't reject a kiss from him. I told him that I've been saying this is a problem for a while. I don't think it's funny at all. I have thrown up because of it. He started to laugh as I said that, and I just kind of lost it, I don't really yell at people. I am a calm and collected person, so I scared him a bit. I told him it was disgusting and I'm getting to the point where I'm no longer attracted to him, that I've been trying so hard to be understanding but it's a two-way street. It wasn't to me about something being gross or funny anymore. It was about respect. He kind of got defensive, trying to throw in how I was overreacting and being ridiculous. But I shut it down and he apologized because he apparently didn't know I felt so strongly about it. He would try not to do it anymore at all. I don't care that it happens, I only care that he forces it, etc. Now, having talked it out for the next couple of hours, he actually didn't try to burp in my face or fart on me. I was so happy I could enjoy cuddling my boyfriend without trying not to vomit. So I started unzipping his pants to make him forget about his bad day. You already know where this is going. It's humiliating, but I'm going to type it out anyway. As I was trying to blow him, he pushed my head down, so I couldn't get away and tensed up and started farting loudly while laughing. I was so frustrated I started crying immediately. I think he realized he did something wrong because he let go of my head and tried to hold me, and he kept saying, "I'm sorry, I thought you meant to do it less. I thought it was going to be funny to break the tension from before." But I got up and left his apartment. That was 2 days ago. He has tried calling me, texting me constantly. I have not responded. His messages range from being very apologetic to very angry, back and forth. I don't know what to do. I feel like this relationship is over, but I still love him. I feel also really gross and violated in a way. Our mutual friends have been texting me as well, asking if everything is okay, and I've tried explaining the situation to my best friend, but he found it hilarious, so I'm afraid to explain it to anyone else. This is just so stupid. I literally feel like I'm crazy, maybe I'm uptight, etc. I also have a lot of his stuff over here that belongs to him, and I'm worried he will come back to get it and I'll have to face him. What should I do? Am I just overreacting? Comments where OP has replied. Comment 1. Cut the shit. I grew up with 3 brothers, and I wouldn't put up with this from a boyfriend either. Tell him, when you do this, it reminds me of growing up with my brothers, and you're starting to be about as attractive as a brother. As in, I am not attracted to you because of this. Stop it immediately or I'm going to stop this relationship immediately. You are seriously crossing my boundaries, and this is not okay anymore. If he can't pick up on the fact that you are serious after that talk, dump him because he's about as mature as a 2-year-old. That's how I feel. He's like one of my brothers. I tried telling him this, but I don't think he was taking me seriously. Thank you for your reply because I suppose it really is a boundary, and that's why I've been so upset about it and kind of invalidating my own feelings and believing I am being kind of ridiculous. Comment 2. Good God. Just good God. After you literally screamed at him about it like a few hours ago, he thought it would be funny? Can you even picture being naked with him without gagging? Also, the whole thing is kind of hilarious in the "I can't believe this is how a real grown-up person behaved, you've got to be making this up" kind of way. To be fair, he did text saying he thought it was only the burping thing that I didn't like that much because it was what caused the fight, and that's why he thought it would be funny, but I haven't replied because I know I mentioned it as well. Update. Thank you for everyone who replied to my original post and also those who PM'd me. I wasn't really expecting as much support, but I'm glad that I'm not alone. Last night I was pretty miserable and just felt confused and sick about the whole thing. It really helped me deal with what I was feeling and rationalize reading what everyone had written. I just want to clear a few things up before I get into how this has climaxed for me. My boyfriend did not start out doing this constantly. I remember the first time he did it, I was confused and told him right away I did not like it, calmly, and he seemed to understand. I have never laughed when he did it purposely. I know the difference between an accident and what he does. A lot of the replies helped me examine my relationship as a whole. We have had other problems that seem to fit the same pattern. He had the same behavior with driving very fast for fun. And he had the same issue with playfully pinching and tickling, but he was doing it so hard it would leave bruises. I always expressed that I did not like this, but he was insistent that I was overreacting. When I showed him he was actually hurting me, he stopped completely and never did it since. I didn't think it was an important thing to bring up. I think it's a bit harsh to call him abusive because he respected that boundary. I know a lot of people were suggesting that I do the same thing to him or retaliate in the same way, and it might sound nice to entertain that fantasy, but I'm really not like that. I will never let someone else's actions define who I am as a person. I know I will never try to intentionally hurt someone, and that makes me have faith in myself. A few of you made me really cry because before I wrote my post, I was completely unsupported, and I felt alone and, well, really ridiculous and dumb. So thank you very much for taking the time to help me. Even though I'm a stranger and none of you owe me anything, let alone your time and kindness. Thank you. Now on to today. I have not replied to any of James's messages. I blocked him on all devices. I feel like I basically told him it was over, and he knew that. I have messaged a few of our mutual friends back saying that I would really appreciate it if they would just drop it, that everything is okay with me, but the relationship is over between us. A post said I didn't have to explain the situation completely, so I did that. They seemed very understanding, except one replied saying, "Over a one-time incident? Get real, lol. But so long as you're happy." It didn't really bother me because I know the truth. It was hurtful that James may have lied, but I'd rather surround myself with people who value honesty. I also invited my best friend over and asked him if he could help me box all of James's belongings, to which he agreed right away. He kept asking me what happened and if I was okay. So I showed him this post, and he was disgusted. He apologized for laughing when I had tried to tell him earlier because he said he didn't know it was so serious. He offered to take James's belongings to him, but I made him promise to not be hostile or I'd ask someone else. He agreed. We spent a lot of the day in my apartment. When the front door opened, it's hard for me to articulate myself, but I'll try to type it exactly as it happened. We both heard it and stopped talking immediately. It was James. I'm not gonna lie, I was immediately frightened, and maybe I could have handled it better, but I kind of just stood there. I just didn't expect to see him. He has never showed up at my home or work without a warning. My friend asked him what the hell he thinks he was doing here. James kept staring at me and ignored him, saying, "I thought you were dead or something. Why have you been ignoring me?" My friend stepped in front of him and handed him one of the boxes and told him he could take his stuff and leave, that it was over and I didn't want to talk to him. James laughed and made a move towards me and said I needed to talk to him alone, but my friend moved in front of him and told him that he shouldn't be in my house uninvited, that it was illegal and he was going to call the police. Then James got really mad and twisted his face all weird, and I can't explain it, but he started yelling, and it was like he wasn't the same person at all. He called me an a-hole and said that I was some ridiculous princess, and he just kept going. My friend telling him, "That's nice. Now you need to leave or I'm going to make you." And then James threw down his box and punched my friend in the face. I don't remember exactly, but my friend fell back, and James came up to me and he grabbed me and started shaking me, saying I was stupid for throwing this all away and that I was probably sleeping with my friend. I was very afraid and I couldn't believe this was happening. My friend got up and grabbed him by the back of his shirt and threw him off me and shoved him out of my apartment. James ran away down the hall, kicking people's doors and screaming. My neighbor had come out of his apartment and asked what was going on, and I told him to call the ambulance because my friend was bleeding from his nose. I was so embarrassed. At the hospital, I kept embarrassing myself, crying and apologizing to my friend while we were in the waiting room. His nose is broken. He keeps making Owen Wilson jokes/impressions, but he is okay now. I am at my friend's house because I'm afraid to go home. He said I can stay with him for as long as I need to. I feel really awful that my friend got his nose broken because I was a bad judge of character. I also feel really guilty that I got so scared I just kind of stood there and let my friend get hurt. My friend is taking me to the police station to file a report, but I just want this whole thing to be over. But he is being insistent because I need to do this to ensure my safety. This is my first relationship, and I don't even know if this person was real. I didn't think this was even possible to happen. I don't understand what I missed, and I feel like I'm vibrating inside because of how frightened I am. I want to go home to my apartment, but I'm afraid he will come back. The way my head does not make any sense. I feel ashamed even writing all of this because it was from something so small and juvenile, so I don't know, I'm just handling it weird, or my head is blowing it completely out of proportion. How do I proceed now after I file a report? Has anyone been in this same situation before? How do people hide this kind of anger for over a year? Why did this happen? I'm sorry for the questions, but I just can't make sense of my own thoughts right now. Now on to the next story. Story 9. Married my girlfriend who promised she cut contact with her ex. Found out she's been secretly talking to him, lied about him moving to Florida. Now she wants an open relationship. I recently married my longtime GF, 8 years, who I'll call Amy. Important context. While we have been together that whole time, the first 5 years were not exclusive, did not live together, and for 2 years were 1,200 miles apart, though we made regular visits. When she and I first met, we were both married but in open relationships. My wife, myself, and Amy's husband were required to travel for extremely long periods of time, sometimes years, with minimal opportunities to return home. Security contractors. Amy is an ER nurse. 3 months before she and I met, while her husband was home on a 6-month break, she met a local cop and started a relationship with him. We'll call him Chris. He introduced her to some pretty extreme S&M and BDSM, which she found she deeply enjoyed. Unfortunately, it rapidly escalated past anything even remotely healthy and became abusive. This rapidly began to destroy her marriage and family, and despite her husband giving her an ultimatum, she persisted. I was unaware of the abusive, obsessive nature of her relationship with Chris until Amy's husband told me. I had noticed that Amy was becoming increasingly erratic but had no explanation. I broke it off with Amy. A month later, she reached out saying she had realized how toxic the relationship was, that she had broken up with Chris, blocked him, and if I was interested, would like to start seeing me again. I verified with her husband, then started sleeping with her again. This was still very much a booty call level of relationship at this point. From that point on, over the next 8 years, we would become closer and closer and eventually marry. However, about 4 years ago, she mentions that he had reached out to her over some pictures she posted, unrelated, and that they had a good conversation where he asked why she had broken it off with him and they had both reached some closure. I noted that while I was glad for her, how could he have reached her if she blocked him? Her reply was that while she blocked his number, she had forgotten to block him on IG. I let it go. A couple years ago, in a conversation with her friend, I find out that during a medical emergency some years back, but after she supposedly blocked him, that it had actually been Chris that she called to take her into the ER and stay, not this friend. I confronted Amy. She said that when she told me she had a friend take her, she just didn't think to explain who exactly. This has remained a very touchy subject for me for all the reasons stated. We are also no longer in an open relationship, now that I have stopped traveling, among other reasons. We moved back to the area in the same town that Chris was an officer in about 2 years ago. A few months ago, just before we married, she commented that I could be less touchy about Chris now that we are getting married, and after all, he had retired and moved to Florida. We are in Midwest. I asked how she knew that, and she stated that she read an article about his retirement because he retired as a lieutenant and the first K-9 officer. That was barely possible, but I was unconvinced and asked her point blank if she had been talking to him. She said no, point blank. A week ago, I was reading an article about Belgian Malinois and saw an article about Chris attending the retirement ceremony for his former K-9. The ceremony was only 6 months ago and would mean he was in the area until very recently. So I dug and I'm good at it. Now I have all the dates, times, houses, etc. for the man. He retired 9 months ago, left for Florida right after the K-9 ceremony, but there is no mention in any article of him moving, and there wouldn't be since he moved well after retiring. So I confront Amy, and this time she says Chris reached out to her out of the blue via text and they chatted. When asked how that was possible if he was blocked, she said he had a new number. We had a big fight and I've spent a couple days considering what to do. Right now I plan to confront her tonight. Even if it is true that she forgot to block him on IG, why did she have a conversation when he reached out? Even if she was confused and called him to go to the ER, why did she hide that from me for years? Even if he texted her randomly after years, after he moved to Florida using a new number, why did she have a conversation and tell him that she now lives in town? My full intention is to ask for a divorce tonight. Edit. For those who've asked for more info, her husband and I are still close. Let's call him Dan. He is still working. The more to the story is that I had a really bad day that left me unable to keep traveling. As soon as I was home full-time, and more to the point, laid up and not earning, My wife divorced me and tried to take the money and the kids. No need for details there, but I wound up with the kids and the money all got burned on attorneys. Amy had always been the one who had to stay home, so she and I started spending a lot of time together doing life things. Dan was glad to have someone he trusted with her and their kids, and despite me being half speed, he felt good having someone around to keep her from tangling with the bad crowd, including Chris, which should have been a bigger red flag than it was, but I still hadn't come out of that king of the hill mentality. So the change was when I stopped traveling. Amy and I started living together. Her husband Dan left permanently. I adopted her kids, and my wife divorced me, lost custody, and kept traveling, though her travels are all stateside. Dan doesn't have, and at this point doesn't want, a romantic relationship with anyone. I'm sure he still has a list for finding relief, but he is allergic to any sort of permanent situation. While he would never be willing to, and I don't want to have me adopt his kids, they were 14M, 10M, and 8F. When I met them, 18M, 14M, and 12F. When I came home for good, and 22M, 18M, 16F now. He has given me power of attorney on their behalf and they all call me Dad. So there's that. And yes, I'm sure there are a lot of people who judge all of us for the choices and lifestyle we've made, but we are all human and the things required of the people called on to do the things that we do lead to a lot of compromises. We make the decisions we do based on the things we know at the moment. Hindsight is only useful when you start looking forward again. Update, September 29, 2024. First, thank you all. It seems pretty shallow, but the validation and criticism I've gotten from the original post really helped me externalize and get some perspective. Also, some of you all are hilarious, some of you are compassionate and thoughtful, and others made me appreciate that no matter how stupid I get, somebody will find a way to outdo me. Bleeding with the headline, I had the conversation. I told her I am divorcing her. It went as badly as expected. She and Chris have not been physical, but we got to the heart of the reason she has been in touch with him. I am exhausted, but feel like I have some clarity of mind and purpose I have lacked for quite some time. I'll probably feel more chatty tomorrow, but for now that's what I have. Edit, more coherent update. Now that I've slept on it. In another reply in the thread below I have my take on what she told me and her reasons and I won't repeat it all. And yes, this is my opinion and what I choose to put on here, and I'm sure if she were on here, she would have some reason to explain how none of it is her fault. Thinking about it, the pattern is clear, she even said as much herself, but we don't always hear what we don't want to hear. All of her relationships have come through our professional community in some capacity or another. She is attracted to the men in it and the lifestyle, or at least this version of it. She married Dan because he's exciting and dangerous and mostly absent. She got to have the money, the kids, an exciting husband, near total independence because he was only home maybe 3 or 4 weeks a year, and because of the circumstances, she could also sleep around freely. So did Dan, to be clear. This was fine until Dan spent an extended period of time at home. There was a lot said there about how unfair/unreasonable it is when one of us comes back home with zero idea of how things work or why, and start acting as if our opinion of what home life should or should not look like needs to be followed. I get that, actually. Long story short, she was never, and is not now, interested in a normal marriage. She wants and enjoys the lifestyle she had first with Dan, and then with me. It ended with Dan when he came home and tried to play house. It ended with me when I came home long-term and tried to do the same thing. For that matter, that's what ended my marriage with my first wife. Me coming home and acting like I own the place rather than an occasional visitor. Amy did enjoy the more normal life with me, but also wants the old excitement. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. So, she reached back out to Chris because she did like what they did until Chris went too far and Dan was about to leave home again, leaving her alone with Chris around. Bonus excitement for her at the time because she got to literally watch me confront Chris at our home and send him away. But things have changed since then. In the new circumstances, she can hook up with Chris and do much more extreme things than she does with me, while also having me at the house to keep Chris in check. Only catch is that it's no longer on the up and up, so she and Chris would have to sneak around. Maybe that made it more exciting. Almost works, but I clue in and realize they are in contact and unravel the whole thing before they have an opportunity to act on it more. Chris definitely scratches a sexual itch than Dan and I did/do not. Dan and I are similar in that we can and do enjoy some level of BDSM, etc., but as it escalates, it becomes much too similar to work things we don't want within a million miles of our homes. I'm happy to put the handcuffs on you and hold you down, but once we get to heavy impact play, cutting, or God help me, CNC, the level of nope is so high it could put me off for weeks. So yeah, Chris is a better lover than I am in that regard. More, alcoholism. I know my short reply last night while tired was pretty ugly. Yes, there is truth there, but no, it isn't that simple. I was quoting her, but a lot of what she said was intended to be hurtful. I appreciate the kind questions and comments. I have tried medical marijuana, but it's a terrible fit for me. It made me physically less coordinated, but also made me feel more alert. The combination takes me from a level of hypervigilance that already requires medication and that I am slowly improving with CBT to flat-out dangerous paranoia. So, hard pass. For whatever reason, I have little reaction to local anesthetic, so it's difficult to treat the pain locally. The solution has been stronger meds like opiates, but since I don't have a death wish nor any desire to inflict a drug-addicted dad on my children, I left those behind completely at the very first opportunity. So now I take a crap ton of ibuprofen, of course, right? Lidocaine patches, not particularly effective but better than nothing. Biofreeze, weekly massage therapy, and yes, more nights than not, I wind up drinking at bedtime in order to get to sleep. I've gotten a lot of advice about this over the last few years and a lot of suggestions. I don't imagine anyone here has a better idea, but please feel free to make a suggestion. I'm 100% open to anything that works without turning me into a monster. Now on to the next story. Story 10. Childhood best friend's boyfriend raped me 10 years ago. I kept quiet, but I revealed it when they were getting married. Now everyone's blaming me for speaking up. A little backstory is needed, so please stick with me. Growing up, I, F27, had a childhood friend, Angie, F27, who was as close as a real sister. We spent entire weekends at each other's place, celebrated family events, etc. From 6 years old till 18 years old, I even lived at her place in 2nd grade while my parents went through a nasty divorce. I learned to speak some Russian as she is Russian, and she learned to speak some Spanish. Needless to say, her older brother and little sister were like a family to me. During our teenage years, she had her 2 male best friends. One whom she started dating, and another one, Nico, now 29, who was Russian as well, whom I started dating at 17. Growing up, I had issues with a heart condition. I won't bore you with the details, but I had to take a lot of meds, but got healthier starting from 16. I didn't have to take them daily, but only when my heart rate became irregular. But then immediately, as it would become extremely painful, my heart would cramp, I would start to hyperventilate. All my friends knew this, Nico included, and that I would black out if my meds got taken with alcohol. I didn't smoke much or drink much growing up as a result, since I was worried about my health, and only did drink at home or in a safe setting. Legal drinking age is 16 here, and I only drank wine or beer, if at all. I had my first time with Nico at 17, and when my parents stayed at a retreat 2 weeks later, he came over to have a date night. I did drink 1 glass of wine but started having health issues later, resulting in me taking my meds and being unconscious. I was a bit sore the next morning but didn't think much about it. 2 weeks later, I informed Nico that I was late on my period, and he starts to panic, confessing he had sex with me while I was unconscious. We had it before, so he didn't think much about it. Apparently, he didn't have a condom, but since I was on the pill, he figured it was all right, and he also didn't come in me but in a tissue. I felt violated and disgusted by myself. I didn't know how to describe this and only told Angie about it. I was an utter mess for a few years and wasn't able to have sex again until 2 years later. I didn't remember any of it but was too ashamed to go to my mom or anybody else. I didn't think of it as rape back then. I was too young to really understand what and how I was violated, and Angie told me it's all right, I should break up if I feel bad about it, but we were in a relationship and did have sex before. I broke up with him the following day, and apparently he cried about his broken heart to her. As Nico and Angie were close and hanging out together a lot, they started dating a few months afterwards, and I had to see him every time when visiting her. I told her I'm not able to see him, but she didn't understand where I'm coming from. The contact stopped, and we haven't texted or seen each other in years. I still followed her and her family and saw that her brother is expecting his first child. As I was extremely close with her family, I just commented on the Insta post, expressing my gratitude when he reached out to me. I missed his wedding, but he wanted to ask if I would be interested in joining the baby shower. As it's been years and we've been extremely close before, he told me I was like a third little sister. I just asked if Nico will be attending as well, as Angie and him have been dating for 9 years now, and he said yes. I didn't elaborate much but just expressed that I'll send a small present if he can give me his current address but won't be attending. He kept on pestering me what exactly happened all those years ago and why I'm not in their lives anymore. Angie told her family I'm not able to see her with an ex of mine, but her brother thought there's more behind it. This is when I think I could be the a-hole. I told him the truth about what happened back then, and while I didn't know it at 17, I know now that this was rape and I named it as such. I didn't receive any message back from him, but a few days later, Angie reached out to me, furious. Nico had planned to propose during the baby shower, but Angie's brother is against it now, having learned why I stopped the contact. She loves Nico and will stay with him, but by doing so, her brother said she is no longer a part of his life, as he doesn't want his little baby girl in the same family as a rapist. Since then, I've been getting messages from old high school acquaintances telling me I should have ignored it and not told anybody. Since I didn't speak up back then, I lost the right to do so now, and I'm a horrible person for ruining somebody's life over some stuff he did 10 years ago when he himself was a child as well. Am I truly the a-hole for speaking up? Comments where OP has replied. OP responds to multiple comments about how things are wrong and she could speak up. OP: I understand now how wrong it has all been and that it's rape, but we grew up in a small town with approximately 5K people, and I honestly don't know which way it would have gone if I would have spoken up. He was 19 back then, 2 years older, and everybody is in everybody's business. It would have made noise back then like it does now. They all still live there, and it has made its rounds. That's why so many of our old classmates are reaching out. Most of who still live there have left me furious messages. They have known Nico for all their life and are standing by him. I moved out when I was 20, my mom shortly after, and didn't stay in touch with most. It still breaks my heart to get such a furious response from people who were my whole childhood. And thank you for all your best wishes. I genuinely appreciate it. OP did not ruin Nico's life, he did this himself. OP: I understand that what happened is on him. The backlash I am getting is because he apparently is not that person anymore, and something he did as a teenager, according to Angie, should not ruin his life and is in no way related to the daughter her brother will have. I don't know if he will ever act out or do something, but it doesn't invalidate what happened to me. So thank you for confirming this. I just can't stop to feel bad about this having so much consequences. While I do not want to see Nico or Angie, I have made my peace with what happened to me back then. Commenter: but why are they attacking you and not the brother? You are not the one objecting to the marriage. Just feels like misogyny and victim blaming, tbh. OP: I guess because he is family, and I'm the outsider who ruined their family. I've been getting so many messages from people who didn't even have my number back then. I'm blocking the best I can. It's just hard to not let these comments get to your heart. Commenter: NTA. They got together so soon after the two of you broke up. I can't help but wonder if your friend was convincing you to break up with Nico because she was hoping to get with him all along. OP: I honestly don't believe it. They've known each other for years, and she broke up with her boyfriend 2 weeks before I broke up with Nico. It was a 5K town. Even adding the people our age from near villages, our school had 500 people attending. Hence the options are very limiting. Update: September 15th, 2024. First of all, I'm immensely thankful for all the people who took the time to not only read through my story but also comment. I read every single comment and tried to respond to as many as possible. It gave me a little bit of hope of compassion for victims of rape and also the courage to not cave to the backlash I received. Mental update: reading all the messages defending my choices on speaking up made me realize how insecure I was on what I am allowed to do and how much I was trying to make it right to other people besides myself. This especially included Nico and Angie. All of you are right. If Nico had changed, he would have apologized, reached out, or tried to make amends in some way, either when word got to him from his brother-in-law or at some earlier point in his life. My former best friend Angie should have been able to feel some sort of compassion if she had any respect for me as a human being or the time we spent together. Her reactions showed that I shouldn't hesitate on my actions. I went to therapy from 21 onwards and thought I moved on from the rape as best as I could, but I realized how ashamed I still am almost 10 years later about an incident that wasn't my fault at all. I was ashamed to speak up back then and afraid that people around me would look differently at me, and somehow I still felt bad about speaking up today. So, I tried to own what happened to me now and not apologize for other people's behaviors, especially as they don't even show me respect. What happened since then? I archived every nasty message I got on WhatsApp so I wouldn't have to read them but would have the proof if needed at a later point. Angie's mom called me the following day of the incident, crying. I shouldn't have answered the phone, but during the 10 years of friendship, I saw her as an aunt, almost a second mom. She always joked that while her children would run around the house doing whatever, I would always take the time to drink a tea and talk with her, showing her more love and time than her actual children. While she said she's sorry for what has been, and for what I went through as a child, she couldn't believe that I would ruin Angie's happiness over something like that. With Angie's brother refusing to have Nico as part of the family and Angie standing by Nico's side, it's divided their family, and she is heartbroken. She has grown to love Nico like family as well, and has known him for nothing more than a considerate young man who she knows will make her daughter happy. It wasn't nasty names or angry talk, just a heartbroken mother who failed to acknowledge my pain and saw the fault in me. Angie's mom tried to get me to apologize or to take it back, but I refused, as I don't see the fault in me. With everything that has happened, I believe that Nico hasn't changed and is just hiding it better. Somehow, he can see how people are standing by him and supporting his behavior so he won't have to change, and that is something I didn't want to indulge. Angie's mom not even once used the word rape, and I tried to correct her every time she talked about it, trying to name it for her to understand better, but she would just start sobbing more, and it didn't make sense for us to continue to talk. Angie's mom used to be in contact with mine for some time, and she reached out to her after our talk. I was afraid that my mom would find out since she's from a more conservative background. We had a long talk, and I didn't get to see her physically yet, but she apologized for not being there for me or not making me feel like I can talk to her. I tried to calm her as best as I could, but when she asked me if my current partner knows I was used like that, I got angry. She was scared my partner would leave me if he found out, implying it was something that made me less precious or appealing. When she asked me to keep it a secret from our family abroad and in our country, I hung up. She was acting exactly the way I was afraid she would, as if it's something shameful. It was especially hard as I'm trying my best to move away from the feeling of shame. She has since apologized, but it's clear that her view of me has changed. I don't yet know how to deal with it, but that's something to worry about in the next few weeks. As some of you suggested, I wrote Angie's brother Sven again and apologized for the mess, but I'm glad that it is out in the open and how proud I am that he's defending his family. I asked if his old email is still working, as I would just send a gift card. He didn't respond, but I got a message from his wife 2 days ago. She thanked me for speaking up and informing them about Nico. There were apparently a few moments that made her uncomfortable, some jokes Nico made, and in retrospective she can see why. Sven apparently informed her the moment he got my initial text, and both of them have since seen Angie but not Nico. She refuses to be in the same room or house as him, and the same goes to their unborn daughter. Sven and Angie's mom have been at their place multiple times to beg to forgive Nico, and Sven caved a little. Angie and Nico will get married. Sven will attend, but his wife will not. He is allowed in the family but not in contact with either Sven's wife or daughter. Those restrictions are not for Angie. Sven was suffering, trying to ease his mother's worries, and is not able to take a stand and cut them out completely. This is a compromise they made without his wife's approval, and she told me she's trying her best to cut them out of their life indefinitely. She wanted to move back closer to her family as well, and thinks this is a perfect opportunity but isn't sure if she can follow through. His wife told me she's terribly sorry for all the issues that came my way, and it has been a lot trying to handle the situation on their side. Sven knows it's not my fault, but he doesn't want contact. It's hard for him to talk or see my name because even though he knows I'm not the guilty party, in some way I was the bearer of bad news, and he sees me as the start of all this drama. She told me a few times that neither believe I'm the bad guy, they just are tired with everything, and it's just been extremely hard on them. That's all that has happened so far. I am frustrated about how everything came to be. It feels like Nico will just continue with his life without being remorseful. I didn't want him to suffer, but I think some part of me wanted to at least receive some kind of apology for all the suffering I went through afterwards. I'm having to deal with my mother and her changed, shameful view on me, and even though I'm happy it's all out, it's extremely hard to stand by my choices. My partner and my best friends both have been my shoulder to cry on during this ordeal. Especially my best friend was enraged for me, and I'm extremely grateful to have both by my side right now. I'm just emotionally drained, but I'm sure it will be better once a few weeks pass. Now on to the next story. Story 11. Caught my wife cheating with our son's college buddy. Later on, I divorced her. I, 47M, and my wife, 46F, had been married for 17 years when we got divorced. I met her in college. We were good friends at first, but after a while I developed a bit of a crush on her and I asked her out. We dated for a few years before she ended up getting pregnant. When our son was 3 years old, we ended up getting married. In total, we've been together for 23 years. Throughout all of the years we had been together, I thought we were happy and in love. We watched all of our friends go through countless struggles with their relationships while we remained steady throughout everything. The only issue that ever really arose for us was the fact that my wife liked the attention of other men. It was something that I felt insecure about at first, but over the years I had gotten used to it. As far as I was aware, she never did anything with other men, but she would get dressed up to go places because she knew she would be catching their eyes. She would flirt with bartenders or waiters to get free things at restaurants. She told me that it made her feel confident and sexy, and after giving birth and getting a bit older, she was having issues with her confidence. I did everything in my power to assure her that I thought she was the most beautiful woman on the planet. She just wanted to be desired by other people. It made her feel like she had this feminine power, and she didn't want to lose it. My wife was very good-looking. She took care of herself, going to the gym regularly, taking care of her skin and hair, and wearing clothes that aligned with the latest trends. I always thought that I was very lucky to have her. We only had one child together, our son. Sending him off to college was difficult for my wife and me. We had gotten so used to him being around the house that everything felt empty without him there. It was a hard pill to swallow, but he was moving on with his life, and there wasn't anything we could do about it. When we dropped him off the first semester of his freshman year, I was very aware that his roommate was surprised at how his mother looked. My wife caught on to that as well. On the car ride home, she kept laughing about how she felt like the hottest girl in the world. We made jokes about it, and I never thought anything would really come of it. His university was a 6-hour drive away from us, so when we went to pick him up at the end of the fall semester, I kind of assumed that my wife would dress for a road trip. We were going to be on the road for 12 hours, and it was probably expected to be wearing sweaters and comfortable pants, things like that. Instead, she got dressed up to go pick our son up. She wore tight jeans and a t-shirt that exposed a lot of her cleavage. She was wearing makeup and she curled her hair in the morning. I didn't quite understand why she was making such an effort to go pick him up. Part of me knew that it was because she wanted the boys in his dorm to pay attention to her, and it kind of weirded me out. Thankfully, when we arrived, a lot of the students had already left for the winter break, so she didn't get as much of the validation that I thought she wanted. However, our son's roommate was still there. He was very clearly attracted to my wife, and he kept staring at her while we were helping my son pack his things. It was honestly something that I was considering addressing with her when we got home, but my son beat me to it. On the car ride back, he told my wife that he wasn't happy with how she dressed around some of the guys in his college. She promised him that she would make sure to cover up in the future, almost shrugging it off like it was a joke. In some ways, I could see that my son was actually embarrassed by how his friends reacted to her. I didn't like that she was playing it off like it wasn't a big deal. When we got home later that evening, I continued the conversation with her. I told her that it was starting to make me uncomfortable, and she was acting somewhat defensive about it. Instead of getting into an argument, we both just dropped it and figured we would deal with it when the time came in the future. A couple of years passed, and our son was a junior in college. Regardless of how my wife dressed going to pick him up and drop them off, some of his friends and roommates still made comments about how she looked. She listened to what we said and stopped wearing such revealing clothes, but it didn't help. At the end of his junior year, we went to help him move out of his apartment off campus. We drove to the university and helped him load everything into my truck, as we always did. He was living in an apartment with 3 other guys, one of whom was the roommate that he had during his freshman year. On the car ride back, he asked us if it was okay for one of his friends to come visit for a week. There was a film festival nearby that they both wanted to go to, and I said that it would be fine. My wife agreed with that. A few weeks passed while our son was home, and we were drawing closer to his friend coming to visit. In those weeks, my wife was on her phone a lot more than she normally was. She was texting with someone, and every now and then, I would hear her on the phone whispering. I had no idea who she was talking to. One night, my wife was in the shower, and I went in to brush my teeth. I saw through the glass shower door that she had her phone in the shower with her, and she was recording herself. She stopped when I walked in, but it was obvious what she was doing and denied it when I said it looked like she was recording herself. Our son's friend came to visit for the week, as we expected, and everything started out normal. I could see that he was extra nice to my wife because he was obviously attracted to her. I figured that my son would be with him during the day, so it never occurred to me that my wife would have any alone time with him. We had a pool at our house that my wife used quite often in the summer months. She would swim in it regularly for exercise as well as use it for recreation. I came home from work one day and I saw my wife outside in a very small bikini with our son's friend. They were both in the pool, playing around with each other and splashing water in each other's faces. They kept diving under the water and grabbing each other to pull them under. It looked like they were just looking for an excuse to touch each other. Neither of them noticed me coming right away, so I hid from them. I didn't want them to see me because I was curious about what exactly was happening with them. We had cameras in the backyard, so instead of going outside, I went into my office and logged in to watch the cameras live. Neither of them had any idea that I was home, much less watching them. My wife looked around the pool area to make sure the coast was clear, then kissed him again. I could faintly hear what they were talking about through the audio, but they were saying something about how glad they were to finally have some time alone. Right after that, my wife started touching him and reaching inside his swim trunks. He said something about not being sure they had the time, but my wife told him that she thought it was even hotter because of that. They finished what they were doing, and my wife told him that she would visit him in the guest room after I went to bed. My gut had told me that there was something going on with her that I didn't know. I hated seeing that I was right to think that. We had been together for a very long time, and I trusted her more than anyone in the world, and she broke that. I didn't know if they had slept together already, but it was clear that they were planning on it. What they did in the pool was already cheating, but they were about to take it even further. They both toweled off and went inside, and I quickly turned off the footage and made it look like I was busy doing something for work. My wife walked by the office and commented on how she had no idea I was home. I tried to cover my emotions and play it off like I had just walked in the door. She came to me about an hour later and told me that it was time for dinner, but I lied and told her I wasn't feeling well and was just going to focus on work instead. I couldn't stomach being around her. I knew that I was going to catch her in the act with our son's friend later that night, and I didn't think I was going to be able to pretend to be okay with everything. All I needed was to get the evidence to prove that she was having an affair. I pretended to go to sleep around the time that I usually did. My wife climbed into bed next to me and stayed there for about half an hour while I pretended to sleep. When she thought I was completely out, she quietly climbed out of the bed and left. I waited about 5 minutes and made my way to the guest room that they were both in. They were clearly trying to be quiet on the other end, but I could hear the squeak of the bed frame underneath them. I pulled out my phone camera and started recording so I could open the door quickly and have the video evidence that I caught them. I opened the door and saw my wife naked and on top of our son's friend, having sex with him. They were both shocked when I opened the door, and my wife quickly jumped off of him to run over to me. I had already started walking away from the room when she caught up to me. She was trying to whisper and be as quiet as possible about the entire ordeal to avoid waking up our son, but I yelled back at her. I told her that I didn't understand how she could do that. especially with our son's friend. It didn't take long for our son to wake up and stand in his doorway, asking us about what was going on. I looked at my wife and waited for her to explain to him what she'd been doing. When she told him what happened, my son rushed into the room where his friend was and tried to attack him. He yelled at him and called him a myriad of names that I can't repeat here. I ended up breaking them up and taking my son out of the house because he was so frustrated. I understood where he was coming from, but I didn't want him to get in trouble. We were gone for about an hour, just driving around and letting off some steam. When we got back to the house, his friend was gone. He'd packed all of his things and driven off. My son yelled at his mother, telling her that what she did was wrong and she should have been ashamed. She cheated on a man who had stood by her for almost 25 years for somebody half her age. My wife ended up realizing that there wasn't going to be a way to smooth over what she did. So she left the night and booked herself a hotel room. In the morning, I had a conversation with my son to tell him that because of what happened, I would be leaving his mother. He completely understood, and he told me that if I hadn't gone to him about it, he would have suggested it himself. I could see that my son was almost as hurt as I was about everything. Not only was his mother cheating and their parents getting divorced, but one of his best friends was now out of his life because of it. I felt immensely bad for him, and I couldn't believe that his mother would do something like that to him. I started the divorce proceedings and prepared myself for anything that might come my way. My son told his other roommates about what happened and that he didn't want to live in an apartment with his old friend anymore. Because they were renting an apartment off campus, they agreed that they wouldn't be living with him. They sent him a message and told him that he would have to find another housing option. When it got closer to time to drop my son back off at school, we realized that his friend had to move back into on-campus housing because it was so last minute. He ended up living with a nightmare roommate who couldn't find anybody else to live with him. On top of that, the on-campus housing was almost twice as expensive as renting an apartment off-campus as they planned. So he was forced to take out several extra loans to cover the cost. Having had to pay off my own student loans, I knew that was going to bite him in the butt for quite some time. As for my wife, we did get divorced. She didn't work. She was a homemaker, so she was forced to get a job and start taking care of herself. I was awarded the house, and I ended up selling it because I didn't need everything that was in there. I bought a much smaller house in a different neighborhood with enough room for my son and me. He seemed to really like it when I showed it to him over the winter break. Now he has graduated college, and I am living in the new house by myself. My son is living in an apartment by himself in the city for his job. It's been about a year and a half since everything happened, and I'm trying to get myself back out there. I spent almost 25 years with my ex-wife, and I don't know how to date moving forward. Now on to the next story. Story 12. Found out GF tried to hide that she was married, so I exposed her affair to everyone. At 28M, I met my ex-30F when I started a new job, and we started dating shortly after. Unfortunately, I found out that she was married and planning a family with another man not long after. Not that long ago, I got out of a really bad relationship and decided that it would be best for me to start over somewhere else. I had been wanting to leave my job for some time, and the relationship ending was the perfect opportunity for me to move and to do that. I ended up finding a job in Seattle, a place that I had always been interested in living. When I started, everybody was so friendly. I had always been the type of person who kept their work life and personal life separate, but it was easy to mix them in the new office. For the first time in my life, it truly felt like I had a work family. Everyone in the office loved Halloween, so they threw an annual party every year. I was excited to go. It was my favorite holiday, and I thought it was a great way to get in with my other coworkers. When I was there, I met perhaps the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. At first, I thought she must have been another coworker's date or something because I hadn't seen her around the office. She noticed me as well and decided to strike up a conversation. I found out that she actually worked in the office and had been out of the country on business and returned just a few days before the party. The Halloween party surprisingly got kind of rowdy. There were a lot of people who indulged a little too much in the open bar and started doing some weird things. The woman that I met took the opportunity to kiss me. It escalated from there, and we ended up hooking up in the bathroom. I had never done anything like that, so I didn't really know what that would mean for us moving forward. I thought it might be awkward at first, and I didn't want anything to be uncomfortable between us. The party ended, and everyone went home. The following Monday, everybody came in and discussed how crazy the party was. I wasn't sure if the woman was going to be super excited to see me, so I didn't look for her. Around lunchtime, she actually found me and we talked. She ended up telling me that she thought we had some kind of connection and didn't regret what we did. She then told me that the office had a strict no-dating policy, so we couldn't tell anybody about us. I didn't know anybody else in the office that well yet, so I didn't have anyone that I immediately wanted to run to tell about the new girl I was seeing. It was easy for me to keep that a secret from them. She and I dated in secret for a few months. We would sneak small kisses in the break room. We would hold hands under tables, and we would exchange longing glances at each other. I kind of liked sneaking around. She would come back to my apartment some nights after work, and we would hook up before she would go back to her apartment. I asked her why she never brought me to her place, and she told me that she had a roommate who would always nag her about having guests over. She also always made up excuses not to sleep over at my place, like not having clothes for work or having early meetings. I never suspected that the reason we were keeping our relationship a secret was because she was actually married. Here's the thing about that. She wore a wedding ring and I didn't think anything about it. I didn't even notice because she wore a lot of rings. Honestly, before I knew she was married, I didn't even know what finger a wedding ring went on, so maybe it was my own stupidity that kept it going for so long. One day I was in the office and chatting with one of my coworkers when they casually mentioned going to dinner with my girlfriend and her husband. I felt my face go hot as soon as they said that. I clarified, not thinking that they had the right information, but they confirmed to me that she was in fact married. I couldn't believe it right away. I was dumbfounded by the information. I mean, how could I not have known she was married? She lied to me about our relationship. I needed to see for myself, so just out of curiosity, I texted her and asked her if she wanted to go out that night. She told me that she had some family over and couldn't. I couldn't help but think it was just another lie. I struck up a conversation with the same coworker later the day, and I asked them about where they were going for dinner. They started telling me all about the restaurant they planned on visiting. I had asked my girlfriend about social media early on in our relationship, and she told me that she didn't have any. I didn't have any reason not to believe that was the case, so I didn't have her on anything. After finding out that she might have been married, I searched her online, and I found all the evidence I needed. She had been married for about 3 years, and from everything I saw online, it looked like they were very happy together. I was the other man in the relationship, and I didn't even know it. My blood was boiling at the thought of her lying to me so blatantly. I knew that I needed to confront her about it, and her husband needed to know about what she did. I tried to think of a way to do so calmly, but my impulsiveness got the better of me, and I decided to crash their dinner. I found the restaurant that my coworker told me they would be at, and I let myself in. I saw all 4 of them sitting at a table together, laughing and sharing a bottle of wine. The coworker that I had been speaking to earlier saw me and waved me over. They happily introduced me to their partner as well as the husband of my girlfriend. Her face fell when she saw me. I could tell she knew exactly what was about to happen. I shook the husband's hand and wrinkled my eyebrows, pretending like it was the first time I heard she was married. I told her that she never told me she had a husband, otherwise I would have never been with her. I knew going in that she had a husband, but I played the victim as best as I could so she would be made out as this big villain. I told her that what she was doing was wrong, and everybody in the room looked very confused. I explained everything to them, and her husband confessed that he knew there was something going on. He stormed out of the restaurant, and she followed behind him. When they were gone, I explained everything in more detail to my coworker, especially about how she lied to me and told me that there was a strict no-dating policy in the office. Apparently, that was actually true. Dating within the office was prohibited to prevent drama between the employees. There was a clause in our contracts that possible termination could be in order should that agreement be breached. The next time I was in the office, I went right to the HR department and disclosed the relationship to them. I explained everything, and I told them that it was likely there would be drama between my girlfriend and me, given the fact that she was a liar and a cheater. Part of me thought that I would be fired and she would be allowed to keep her job because of seniority reasons. There was no reason to fire both of us, so if one person had to be fired, it would have been me. I was looking for other jobs and positions after I told them and waited for their decision. Come to find out, the coworker that was at the restaurant with her went to HR and explained everything that happened. They were clearly on my side in the events of everything and told HR that if anybody should stay, it should be me. I got a call from HR later that day telling me that the situation was handled and I was given a formal warning about dating in the office. But my girlfriend was terminated. I felt nice to know that they took my side in everything. It was good to know that they saw the right side and didn't just align with her even though she was the cheater. My coworker told me a few months later that my ex-girlfriend was getting divorced from her husband and actively looking for a job. Termination never looks good on your record. So I knew she would have been having a difficult time. I didn't know what else was going on with her, and I really didn't care. I actually reached out to her ex-husband to express how sorry I was. I genuinely didn't know anything about him, and as soon as I found out, I tried to correct the issue. He wasn't receptive to talking to me at first, which was understandable because he was probably in a lot of pain. After a few weeks, he reached out to me and told me that it was a difficult thing to hear, but he was glad that I told him what happened. They were actually planning on starting a family, so he was happy it ended before there were children involved. Now on to the next story. Story 13. Living a second life with my ex and my lucid dreams for a year. After I confessed to my wife, she contacted my ex to expose me, but ex just told me she thinks my dreams are sweet. I am 31, have been with my wife, F28, for 3 years. We had a short engagement, married quickly, and have a perfectly ordinary existence. I love her. She loves me. We do taxes, housework, watch movies, all the normal things. No physical cheating on either side as far as I know. But here's the thing. I am a lucid dreamer, which means I can, to an extent, control my dreams, which is something I find cool as it allows me to go on adventures while asleep. It also makes scary dreams not so bad because I can just wake myself out of them. Over the last year or so, I've been having a recurring dream about my ex, my first love, F29. Truth be told, I never got over her. We were together for 5 years, from 15-17 to 20-20. We broke up after I graduated from college because she didn't want to move from New York to South Carolina with me, which is where the biggest industry for my field is. I was crushed but moved on, and we've spoken sporadically over the years, although we never crossed any lines. I will admit that I've kept up with her on social media a bit, but nothing stalkerish. Well, a year ago she announced she was getting married, and I experienced a resurgence of feelings for her, although I never acted on them or told her. That same night, I dreamed about her for the first time in years. In the dream, she showed up at my door and asked me if I wanted to get coffee. I said yes, of course. The dream, which was not a lucid dream, ended there. It felt so real I couldn't shake the feeling once I woke up. It felt like we were actually reconnecting. Since then, I've dreamed about her several times a week, and I've practiced becoming lucid, so I've been able to control the outcome more times than not. We've lived a whole life together over the past year. Everything from dates to a trip to Paris together, which we visited while in college. We even re-walked the same paths we did in real life. It got to the point I was looking forward to going to sleep to be with her. Fast forward to today, my wife told me she felt distant from me, and I started to feel guilty because I thought what I was doing was harmless, but she's obviously noticed a change in me. So I confessed about all of it. At first, she thought I was joking, but when she realized I was serious, she accused me of cheating on her and told her mom and sisters, who were calling me a cheating weirdo. She even threatened to tell my ex so she'll know what a loser I am. Now, I get that it's not anything a woman would want to hear, but it's not like I physically cheated. I don't want to lose my wife, but I don't think she can forgive me for this. Comments where OP has replied. Comment 1. Yeah, no. I think this might be a lost cause. I would certainly consider this cheating, and I think that it does indeed warrant a divorce. You clearly don't really love her, at least not as much as you love your ex. P. I do love my wife, which is why I married her. I just also have feelings for my ex, which I should have been honest about before we got married. I didn't mean for this to happen, but once it did, I wasn't able to stop it. Living that life with my ex while sleeping felt like getting to experience what I missed out on in young adulthood. With that said, My wife left overnight for a hotel, and I don't know if she's coming back. I feel awful for hurting her. Comment 2. I'm asking this genuinely, not trying to be snarky at all. What did you think your wife's reaction was going to be? Did you expect what happened, or did you think she would be more accepting? P. I knew she would be upset, but I felt I owed her an explanation once she communicated that she felt distant. I didn't want to gaslight her perception. I just hadn't known that she even noticed a difference in me. I just didn't think she would leave. She's turned off her location. I have no idea where she is or if she's all right, and her family won't speak to me. Now, I do love her and would like for our marriage not to end. But that seems inevitable now as I process this. Update. 2 days ago, I posted about the fallout that occurred after I, 31, admitted to my wife, 28, that I've been lucid dreaming about my ex and first love, 29, over the past year. After a major blow-up where my wife called me every name in the book and got her family involved, which I understand completely, so please don't take this wrong, my wife left. I didn't know her whereabouts for over 24 hours. Early this morning, about 3 a.m., she came home and told me she wanted to file for divorce. She didn't want to have to compete with a phantom and deserved better than a bag like me. But she doesn't want to move out or start the process because it's a pandemic and she doesn't want to live on one income. We make roughly the same amount of money, me $90,000 a year after taxes and her $85,000. I tried to apologize to her for all the hurt I caused by making her feel like she wasn't enough, to assure her that I do love her even though I still love my ex, and explain to her that I've never physically cheated or had any inappropriate conversation with my ex. But she won't budge. She doesn't want me anymore. I can't blame her. I was selfish, and I shouldn't have carried on what I now accept to be a one-sided emotional affair. So I agreed to stay together for financial purposes for 2 years or until the pandemic is over, whichever comes first. But she's kicked me out of our bedroom and basically claimed the second floor for herself. There's so much tension in the house right now, so I left as soon as the sun came up and went to a coffee shop to do some work. While there, I received a message on Instagram from my ex. My ex-wife sent her a long message from her own account telling her about everything that I told her. I froze because I hadn't spoken to her in a long time, but she saw that I had read the message and followed up an hour later telling me she needed to know the truth. So again, I confessed, expecting to be berated and called a loser again because I had nothing else to lose. But she didn't think that my dreams about her were weird or creepy. She thought it was sweet that I still loved her, especially with her knowing that I'd never tried to have inappropriate conversations or force my way into her life. I'm aware that her not condemning my actions don't make them right or take away from the hurt I caused my wife, but knowing she didn't think negatively of me made me feel better. We messaged back and forth for a couple of hours, talking about our relationship and how it ended and the choices we made. In that, I learned that she and her fiancé called off their engagement a few months ago. I also told her my wife was going to divorce me because of the revelation. She expressed her condolences, and that was the end of the conversation. I'm home now, and I can't help but wonder if this is the universe's way of putting my ex and I back on the path to reconciliation. Hate me if you want, but I made a mistake and I hurt my wife and my marriage is over now or going to be. But knowing that the person I ruined my marriage over doesn't think I'm the scum of the earth is worth its weight in gold. I don't know what will happen now, but I can't imagine a friendship with my ex won't blossom from this at the very least. I know this won't make my wife happy since she contacted my ex to further shame me, but I may just not tell her. We are, after all, divorcing. I hope the next few months and years can result in healing for both my wife and myself and that we'll both live happy, fulfilled lives. Now on to the next story. Story 14. Punched my late husband's affair partner when he showed up at my door demanding I stay quiet about their relationship. Felt like I stood up for myself after years of abuse. My husband died and I have to pretend that he was a great man who loved me. I punched my late husband's affair partner when he showed up at my door demanding I stay quiet about their relationship. After years of abuse, it felt like finally standing up to my husband. After my abusive husband died, I felt relieved and free. 3 months later, his secret male lover showed up at my house demanding I keep quiet about their affair. For the first time in my life, I stood up for myself and punched him. Felt like finally hitting back at my husband. punched my late husband's affair partner when he showed up at my door demanding I stay quiet about their relationship. Felt like I stood up for myself after years of abuse. My husband passed away 3 months ago. I was relieved of that. He abused me financially, mentally, and even physically when I got pregnant. He convinced me to quit my job, saying that he would take care of me. I could never buy anything again without asking his permission. I couldn't even buy a cream without asking his permission, and he decided if I could or not. Even months ago that I had a little money of my own, I had to ask him for permission to buy something. What was mine was his and his was his. But I stayed there because I still loved him and I didn't have a place to go. I had too low self-esteem and let myself be stepped on. When I stopped loving him, he had already had his first affair. He made me believe that I was to blame for the affair because I didn't want to have sex months after my birth that left me torn and I had to receive stitches. I was already planning my exit and saving money little by little while I was working selling things from home, since he wouldn't let me work outside because he was very jealous. I wanted to pay for a lawyer. He was having another affair with a friend of his, which luckily kept him busier, and I didn't care anymore that he didn't pay attention to me. I wanted him to stay as far away as possible. I knew that man and he knew me. I could have made a big fuss, but I didn't. I kept quiet, planning my way out while he and that man slept together in secret. I only felt disgusted by my husband, nothing more. But my husband died in a way I never would have expected. He is now a martyr. When someone dies, all the sins of that person disappear because that's what even my family thinks. Those who knew about his affair and how he manipulated me are now talking about how good man he was and we shouldn't insult someone who's dead. Everyone around me talks about how beautiful our relationship was. His family talks about what a great man he was and how always he focused on giving everything to me and our kid. His affair partner hugged me at the funeral, saying that my husband loved me. His friends told me what a great person he was. Everyone talks about how good he was and how he is now an angel in heaven, and I have to pretend to be sad. The day he died, I cried a lot, but not out of sadness. I cried with relief and I felt free. It would have taken me too many years to save to pay for lawyers with my little store without him realizing that I was keeping money in secret. He would have kept everything. He would have made my life a hell, and I know it because he had told me so every time I stood for myself. But now I have the house, I have everything, I have the monthly money for being a widow. I have my children totally with me. I have started the psychologist. Everyone thinks that I do it to cope with my grief, but no, it is to overcome the abuse I suffered from him. This was really hard to pretend being sad in the funeral, but I did it for my child. I did it because now everything is over and I'm free. If I made a fuss, my ex-Emil would have done something so that I wouldn't keep anything. They were just like him. But now I'm just a sad widow who needs help in their eyes. The silly widow who didn't know anything. But that's helping me to be free and have what I deserve. Sorry for the bad English, I used the truck tour for many parts. Edit. We are not from an Islamic country and here same-sex couples can live and marry freely. He just cheated on me with a man like he cheated on me with a woman, I guess he was bisexual. Comments where OP has replied. Comment 1. I am stuck on his affair partner hugging you and telling you he loved you. She had the balls to show at the funeral. Damn, you have more control than I could have ever mustered. Cheers to a life full of fun and love. OP, his affair partner was his football teammate and friend. He is a man. Thanks. Comment 2, thanks. Your husband had an affair with a man or another woman. You have a child or children. OP, his first affair was with a woman, I think the second with a man of which I know. Maybe he had others that I don't know. For privacy reasons, I don't want to reveal the number of children, so I prefer to leave it at that. It's only one. Update, October 5th, 2024. It's been several weeks since I last posted and I didn't expect my post to end in other places. Honestly, I had totally forgotten that I posted here. But a few days ago, the lover and friend of my ex-husband, I have started calling my deceased husband that way. I don't want to be eternally tied to the idea that he is still my husband even after death. Death did me the favor of separating us, visited my house saying that he found my post. I didn't expect him to find this and it scared me a bit. But honestly, there's nothing I can do about this anymore if someone has posted it elsewhere without asking me first. One of my sons let him in when I hadn't heard the doorbell, so I had no choice but to let him in to not make a drama in front of my kids, and I wanted to know what he was going to say. Once alone, he told me that he knows that I know about him and my husband having an affair because of the post I sent to TikTok. Although I never did any post on TikTok, that's why I think someone uploaded this there. He told me that my husband was not the best husband, but he was a great friend to everyone and a very hardworking man to everyone, that even his family misses him too much, and even though he had his mistakes in the past, that I should let go of the past and stop digging into it because we're all better off like that. He was insisting for a while to such an extent that I felt intimidated by him to the point he reminded me of my husband. And it is the first time that I have that feeling with a man that is not my ex-husband. I can talk peacefully with him, but this situation made me feel on the verge of a panic attack because of his attitude. He's basically scared that I'll tell everything. He's gay and I don't know if he has a boyfriend, but maybe he does, and that's why he doesn't want me to say anything about their affair. I've been a submissive woman for years. My ex-husband turned me into a fearful woman that I wasn't before. He made me the kind of woman who was always going to put her head down. But when he died, I felt so happy and liberated. I cried with relief for days. And when this man came into my house to tell me what to do, it was like seeing my ex-husband again, giving me instructions about how to behave and what to do. The man who knows very well that I was in an abusive relationship because he knew how my ex was and chose to sleep with him anyways, the man my husband made me cook for and then EF him as if I were just a maid, was at my house telling me that my ex was a good person and that I should shut my mouth. He was telling me what to do and I just punched his face. To be honest, I wanted to slap him, but for some reason, I felt so angry that I hit him and it felt like hitting my husband too. I don't regret it and I felt good. I yelled at him and told him to leave or I was going to tell everyone what happened. He ended up leaving the house and he has been quiet since that day. My main plan was just to shut my mouth and let go of the past. But that is one thing, and a totally different thing is that this man comes and wants to impose on me what to do as if I were a doll. Maybe my reaction wasn't the best, but I'm tired of people telling me to shut up. I never managed to say anything to my husband, and that day I felt that I somehow did that. I haven't told anyone yet, nor do I think about doing so, but if he does something, I won't hesitate twice before this time, whether to make a TikTok or post on Facebook talking about everything. With the issue of the house, with the economic crisis, I am not sure that anyone can afford what a house like this is worth, but for now, I focused on finally being able to get a better job in the future to be able to rent a house and be able to rent this house. That could be a really good way to have money. My other goal in the future is to buy a small piece of land, no matter how far it is. I want to have something that is my own and my children's. My children don't miss their father too much and I understand them. It has taken me a while to get them a child psychologist, but recently they started to go to their sessions and they are doing well. I also go to a psychologist. I think the best thing I've done is to start making excuses for my ex-MIL and my own family for not seeing them as often as before, and I've started the stage of cutting off contact little by little, making excuses with work or that we're not at home. Although I still have to let my ex-MIL come home from time to time. I think even my kids are happier when they see that my own mood is better. I doubt that many people are interested in this, but thank you for the messages I received. Although many do not understand that cultures and laws are different, and here, buying a house or moving to the other side of a country in a month is impossible for many. Comments where OP has replied. Comment. The audacity. He thinks you are still the maid. Good for you for showing your strength and sending him on his way. The nerve. I would strongly advise you to coach your children to not allow anyone in that house, not just for AP if he returns. This includes the family you plan to distance yourself from. OP, yes, they know that they should not open the door to strangers, but they open the door to people they know because my ex-husband always sent them to open the door for him. I have begun to explain to them that they should not open the door to anyone without telling me first, and now I leave everything with a lock and key. Now on to the next story. Story 15. Boyfriend's female friend bullied me for years while he did nothing. I finally left him. Then she sent me an angry message denying everything, and his other friend supported me. I don't know if I'm being wildly unreasonable and jealous over this, so I need some outside opinions. I, 29F, have been with my BF, 30M, for 3 years, and we share an apartment. He has a female friend, Nell, 34F, and they were friends for years before I came along. I had no issue with their closeness. I have male friends and knew I'd be a hypocrite to leap to judgments, but at this point, I feel I'm just justified in thinking the way I do about her. The first time I met her, it was extremely obvious Nell didn't like me. She came into the bar all excited to see my BF before noticing me. Her entire demeanor changed. She shook my hand and dug her nails into my skin before ignoring me the rest of the night. She even seemed upset at one point that I took the seat beside my BF and quietly left halfway through the evening without saying goodbye. So, it's safe to say my first impression of her wasn't good. But I tried to reason with myself that not everyone gets along and I don't need to be friends with my BF's friends. However, as time passed, it became really clear Nell's attitude towards me wasn't improving. She had a way of openly mocking me in front of groups of people, making side comments or loudly joking about my voice or appearance. My BF would stand there and say nothing, and after the fact, when I asked him about it, he'd say he hadn't noticed. She'd also make a show of hugging him hello and goodbye and not me. She would mix that kind of stuff in with smiles and basic politeness, so it was tough to articulate exactly what she'd done. I felt very much like I was back in high school. From that point on, I basically decided I didn't need to have someone like that in my life, so I just stopped going to things she was at. I haven't seen her in about a year. My BF still sees her regularly and they text often. I'm now at the stage where I fully believe they've either dated in the past or have something going on now. I've tried gently bringing this up, but he denies they ever dated and makes me feel like I'm being jealous and bitter by asking. I end up suppressing those feelings before something brings them up again. I've reached the end of my tether with it. The final straw for me came the other day when my BF left his phone open and I saw a text exchange between the two. Nell had sent him a heart emoji, and my BF had written something about how he was thinking of her. I know I should have said something then and there, but I felt numb and decided to go to bed. I'm trying to work out how to handle this. Is it possible nothing's going on here? It's something I've tried arguing in my head, but then something else pops up that makes me doubt it. Maybe friends do just send hearts and I'm making this up because I don't care for Nell. I don't want that to be the case. I'm basically at a point where I feel he either has to tell me the truth and restrict contact with Nell or else I don't feel like I can maintain the relationship. I feel constantly disrespected and I want something to change but don't know how to go about it. Any advice would be so welcomed. Update. First, I'd like to sincerely thank everyone for the kind comments. I didn't expect so many responses, and I appreciate them all. I wanted to provide everyone with an update because a lot has happened. A few days ago, after a lot of tearful soul-searching, I decided the best thing for me would be to walk away from the relationship. I sat my BF down and talked to him about it. I explained that I always felt like the third wheel in my own relationship and that for my own happiness, I didn't want to be in a relationship that made me feel that way anymore. I gave examples to him that I did in my original post, such as his lack of boundaries with Nell and his disinterest in standing up for me whenever she mocked me. I also said my trust in him had been eroded to the point where I felt unsure of what I really was to him. I told him I still cared about him and wanted him to be happy, but that I wanted to be happy too. My BF sat silently for a while before asking, "So you're jealous of Nell?" I felt like he'd barely processed anything I just said, and when I tried clarifying, he got defensive and told me he was allowed female friends. I could tell he wanted to turn it into an argument, and since my mind was already made up and I'd said what I wanted, I ended the conversation. He played a computer game and acted like I wasn't there as I packed my things and left. I've been staying with my best friend, who is amazing and always so supportive. We're actually looking into sharing a place officially. I burst into tears on her doorstep, and we hugged it out before having a movie night with a pizza and some wine. It felt really therapeutic, like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. My family have been amazing too, rallying round and taking me out for little meals. Stuff. I even got 1 or 2 sweet messages from my BF's friends saying they were sorry and that they fully understood my point of view, which is interesting. I imagined it would be the end of it, but the next morning I woke up to messages from a number I didn't know. It was Nell. I honestly didn't think she'd contact me, so to see walls and walls of text in my inbox was a shock. Let me run down some of the things she said. She repeatedly insisted that she never bullied me and said she had no idea where that came from. She said I always seemed cold towards her, so she tried to make little jokes to break the ice. Openly mocking someone is an interesting method, but I digress. Lastly, she told me I was making things up by suggesting she ever had a thing with my ex, they were just friends. She finished with a passive-aggressive apology that I ruined my own relationship by being jealous and listening to voices in my head. I didn't respond to her venom or try to get the last word. I know she wanted to repeat her tried and true method of hitting out at me and enjoying my reaction, so I didn't give her one. I've been focusing on other things to start building my self-esteem and happiness back. My ex has not tried to contact me since I left, and I'm glad. Frankly, I think him and Nell are perfect for each other. I'm well and truly done with this, and I'm so excited for new things in my life. My friend and I are making arrangements to officially have a place together. And I actually got promoted at work today. I feel like it was a little hug from the universe and all things are looking bright. So, to end things, I want to thank everyone again for the messages. I think hearing your opinions, as well as getting all my thoughts out in a post, are what really opened my eyes and allowed me to leave. I finally feel I'm making myself the priority. Feels pretty great. We have reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us your thoughts about the stories in the comments section. Thank you and see you in the next video.